I'm Tommy Stedman, and what we're going to try to do for you here is to show you how to chop a late 40s through early 50s GM Sedanette. Now, a lot of people call them Sedanettes, Sedanettes, torpedo body, slope back, whatever you want to call it, but anything, this is a 48 Cadillac right here. And I think a 48 Buick and even a 49 or 50 Buick, you have a little bit of difference in them. It's all the same look, but maybe a little difference in the way the rear of the quarter window goes, or a little difference in the roundness of the corners here or whatever, but basically you're looking at the same vehicle. And in preparation for this, you need to get your car, I got this one down on blocks, got the wheels off of it, that way it makes it more comfortable for me to get the right height to do the cutting and what. But you need to make sure you get your frame out of any twist. Now on this particular car, the rocker panel, the bottom of the rocker is level, both sides, and I leveled the back end and the front end from side to side, so therefore it don't have any twist to it. The car may vary from model to model. I know on this particular one, the frame is taller at the front than it is back toward the back. So to get the rocker level, the frame is actually going downhill. But that makes it better for me to do what I have to do up here and make sure I get everything cut right. You need to get your car stripped out, of course, and get anything out of it that might burn, because you don't want it to catch a fire once you leave it and go away from it in the afternoon or at night or whatever. So you need to make sure you do all that right, and you need to get all your door gaps to where you're satisfied with those. I know the one on the other side there, it fits good everywhere except up in here, the gap is a little bit big. And what I'll do in that big part is I'll more likely, when I cut my amount out of here, I'll cut like 1/8 of an inch less, and that'll make this scoot back enough to take care of this right in here. And then also you can take out just a little bit less in this part to raise the back of it up. So you need to kind of take note of that. Make sure you get everything like you want it before you start cutting. And it's been several years since I've done a body style of this type. And I hope I have sat down and figured it out and know what's happening and what's going to take place once I cut it. So we'll just have to see now if I'm going to guide you in the right direction and not have to back up anywhere and do it the second time. But I'll try my best to make sure it's right when I tell you it's right. Another thing on these cars, this one has a divided windshield. It's like the Chevrolet or Pontiac or whatever. The slant of this post, I'm talking about the leaning back part of it, is a little bit different from this divider bar slant. I think it's like 4 degrees difference in this one. But when we take the amount out of this post and bring this down to meet again, that's going to make that even a couple more degrees out from this one. In other words, the windshield is straight up and down, but it's got a twist in it. In other words, the center of it twists back that way a little bit. But we won't worry about that right now. We'll take care of that once we get everything else taken care of. I just want you to know that that was going to take place. And also, the glass that goes in here, once I got everything out, now this is just on this particular car, it may not be the same on a Chevrolet or whatever, but anyway, once I got everything out, this glass was about like 7/16 shy of the opening. In other words, the rubber is that thick where the glass meets the edge over here. So really the glass will just fall through here right now. You have to hold it in place to make sure it's right. And then two, we're going to cut this car 3 inches. I'm going to take 3 inches out of the windshield post, and I'm going to take a 3-inch vertical cut in the back. So we need to get the windshield cut 3 inches across here, like so. And then you can't see it from that particular angle, but this post also leans in toward the center of the car a little bit. But when we bring this down, it's going to lean in just a little bit more. So So therefore, when you get your windshield cut, you may have to trim off just a little bit in this area down to nothing as you go down the post to get that part of it right. But I'll take note of that and notice how much space you got in your stock opening with a stock windshield, and then you'll know what to do with your other windshield when you get ready to cut it down. I've got new windshields for this car, but we'll more likely use the old one to get a template as to how much we take off the top and whatever. Another thing you have to do is you have to brace your car up. So when you cut any post or anything, it won't move. In other words, this particular brace right here, I've got it attached down here where the seat gunner goes because it's reinforced under the bottom, and there's also a body mount along in this area. So that's the strongest part of the floor. And we've got it attached up here in the cowl section. That way when you cut this post, this cowl won't flop this way and make your door gap messed up. And also as you cut, when you cut something, you close your door and look at it. Make sure it's still the same. Also, I X'd it out from here down across in an X to keep this here from moving this away once you cut something. Just make sure to make this top bar low enough that when you do some cutting in here, your bar don't get in the way. And on this particular car too, or these Sedanette models, let me turn the camera just a little bit here. Hope that window back there. Let me move just a minute. I guess you know by now that this is an in-process tape. We're going to do it as we go. Another thing, when you cut the amount through here, I'm taking 3 inches vertical here. I know it took 3 inches out of the windshield post, but that's at a diagonal slant. So if you measure that vertical, that would be more like, say, 2 1/4. It wouldn't be 3 inches straight down. We'll get into that later on too. But we're going to take a vertical cut right here, and we're going to go back straight and level, I'm talking about, for a few inches. Then we're going to start at that point, and we're going to taper it to 2 1/2 back here. In other words, that'll be a long straight line from 2 1/2 inches to 3 inches, and then it'll go straight. That way, when you set the top back down, this right here will set down because you're going to have to go forward to meet your windshield post. Therefore, this is going to have to set down and slide forward with it, so you want that to be level. And also, when we get this back window, we're going to cut this back window section out. From this line up into here, say about all 5 or 6 and 4 or 5 inches above the window, and go straight across and make sure everything is straight, don't zigzag it. And this whole package tray, trunk hinges, all of that unit comes out as one and set it aside. And the reason I'm going 2 1/2 inches back here is you see how this slants over. Well, if we make our first cut as it comes out of this curve here, you see it leaning over that way. Well, when we come up here and cut this section out and we bring it down, this point is going to be inside this point. So therefore, we're going to have to notch this a couple of times in here, or 3 or whatever, and bring that out to where it meets this. You're putting it in more of a diagonal line, so therefore it's going to take more material to get down here. And I'm calculating that 1/2 inch that I'm not taking out is going to make up for that. And just to kind of double check to see how close I came, I measured from the bottom of this hinge box right here down to the trunk floor at a certain point and wrote it down, and that way when I get everything set back again, I'll remeasure just to make sure that that's right. And also you need to brace up your rear window that way and up and down. And I've also braced it from here down to the package tray, because like I say, when you take this out, you're taking package tray and all. Another thing, if you get it tilted this way to mount to anything, it's going to throw your hinges off. And you know when you turn your hinges this way, that's going to make the deck lid sit high or low. We don't want that to happen. And also you've got a brace in behind the back seat back here where it comes down. That's all got to go. And by the way too, when you bring this back window section back in and bring it down, it's going to have to follow this line. Or it's going to be coming just about straight down. Which, when that happens, this part here and this part here, the roof section is going to go forward to meet the windshield post. When you put that back, you go straight down. So this right here is not going to meet itself. So we're going to have to cut us a section out right in here and slide it to meet this top part. We're going to have to add a piece in, take a piece out. My puppy wants to play and she's going to make a lot of noise, so we're going to have to stop that now. I think, well, let me do one more thing here. Hold on 1 minute. Gonna move around here on the other side and show you something too. This vent window, I put it back in the car just to show you something here. This vent window, if you lay you a square on the ledge here where the window goes and come up this divider bar here, this divider bar is out of square this way toward the front. In other words, if you measure from here up 8 inches, it's out of square 1/8 of an inch in that 8-inch span at the top there. And the reason that you have to note that down and put it back that way is because this post is the same way. In other words, your window track going down into the door, it has to be parallel front and rear. Because if you don't, if you get it wide at the top and narrow at the bottom, your window's going to get loose at the top. It won't stay in the track good. So you got to make note of that too. I'll get the camera around and give you another shot inside here of the braces. Get you an idea of what's going on there. Now the dash in this particular car I had to take out because over in the corner of the windshield down at the bottom, down in here, the dash stuck up above the corner here. And that dash was going to get in the way of me cutting in this post to lean this thing in. We'll get to that later on. But just trying to keep you from making a mistake and having to redo something once you put it in. And of course now you can see the X brace in there. And you see the vertical braces I got in the rear window going from the roof to the package tray. And then you got one going across the window side to side and up and down the window. That keeps you from getting it out of shape when you start welding everything back. Now this particular car had an armrest in the center of the seat. We're going to have to shorten all that too. In other words, the seat's going to stick up past the package tray more than it did. That's what's going to wind up happening here. And another thing, we'll explain it later on, but when you come down in this line to meet this, once you cut your amount out, that's going to put, this right here is going to come straight down too. And that's going to make a hump in it. It's going to come up and it's going to lay back and go again. So we'll probably have to slice this package tray right on the corner and add whatever it takes and then move this drop down part out this way to where it lines up right. We're going to go step by step through this once we start, but just kind of giving you a rundown on what you need to prepare for. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to get our 6-inch scale and our scribe out and some masking tape, and we're going to mark off our windshield post and door post and the places we're going to cut, so to speak. And I'm going to cheat a little bit on you here. I'm going to tell you now, I'm going to do one side with the camera off, and then I'll turn it on and show you how to do the other side. That way I won't make any mistakes and confuse you, hopefully. Let me tell you one more thing here too. A lot of you probably may not like the vent window in the door. On this particular car, it's going to be tricky for you to do that. I'll show you why. You can see the doorpost itself back here, the slant it's got toward the center of the car. Well, that windshield post up there is not the same slant. It don't slant over as far. So it's going to be awful hard for you to get a window to roll up in there if it's a one-piece window. Now the divider bar up there at the vent window is parallel with this one, but then the windshield post goes more straight down. But we'll get into that later too. And it's also up to you as to whether or not you want to slant this post forward or if you want to leave it like it is. I'll show you both ways. Well, I'll do one way and then I'll explain to you how you would do the other way. And it also depends on the amount of trim you want to leave around your windows as far as the stainless trim goes, as to how much work you have to do there to make everything look right, so to speak. In other words, this one has a little feature line coming down here. And if you slanted this post, naturally you're going to have to cut it from this corner to this corner and kick this back. Well, that's going to make that little feature line kick up. And you'd have to do a little work in there with your, like a chisel and a hammer to make that feature line look like it's supposed to. Okay, we're going to show you what we've done here on laying out the top. See what we've got done here on this particular car, and you need to notice on any car that you do, you see how from the top of the drip rail to where it goes off in the windshield opening, this part here as it comes down gets a little bit wider. You want to keep that where you cut it. You want to make this cut and this cut where it's the same width. And as you can see here, I've started to get up in this curve a little bit to make sure that that is the same width across there. So that way when we bring all this back together, all our corners will meet. You don't want one sticking up higher than the other one. And you need to notice too, this edge right here is where your rubber goes that holds your windshield in. Now we know that that's curved this way, but now that glass is flat. So you see that this edge right here, that's a flat edge. It's not curved. And if you can see right here, this drip rail is a straight shot. This edge back here is a straight shot. You have to notice this so you'll know where to cut. And you need to notice too, this thickness right here. There's a little bit of difference in this right here as far as the width of it right here and the width of it down here. But we're going to make this corner and this corner meet, because from here over is the same width down through here. So this little offset right here will just be a matter of grinding this one off to meet that one. You want everything to come back and meet perfect when you do this. Another thing, if you'll notice, down this edge is a straight line. It don't have a curve to it. You have to notice that when you go back with it. You look down your drip rail this way. See, that's a straight drip rail. It don't have a bow in or bow out to it. Now I marked off 3 inches on this particular car. That's 3 inches this way. Now if you want to go vertical, it figures out to like 2 3/16. That's how much vertical we're going to chop the front. In the back, we're going to go 3 inches vertical. In other words, we're making the top slope somewhat more than it is now. It won't be that much, but 13/16. In other words, this dome of this top, the highest peak of it, when you do that, that shifts it forward just a little bit. And that'll make this flow even a longer, more tapered flow. And the same thing on your door window frame here. Make sure it's the same thickness through here where you cut it. One cut to the other. You have to make sure that it's the same thickness here and here. Now this one's a little bit taller up here than it is here. But then again, that's just a matter of making this edge fit this edge. You want this to meet flush out here. Sometimes you have to kind of average out the difference, but most of the time you can come in and make it fit up like you want it to fit up. And now the divider bar up here, I just made a cut to cut it in two. I didn't take anything out because, like I told you before, the divider bar is tapered, is slanted back a little bit more than the doorpost. And when we cut this down, it's going to slant back even more. So no thicker than it is, we can just overlap that, and then when we overlap it, we mark off and cut it off to fit that way. That'll be way farther on in the game. Okay, back here on the doorpost, you have to do the same thing as you did on the front. You have to make sure that, see, this one's straight here, but if this glass side had a curve to it like so, you'd want to cut it to where these two came back together. You take your nearest point, if you want to cut 2 inches out, you come down an inch, go up an inch. But now if you'll notice right here, we're not taking any amount out here, we're just cutting it in two. And the reason I'm cutting it like I'm cutting it here, this is my top cut. I'm going to take my space out of here. I'll cut this off here, and then when we get the top out of the way, when we figure out how much to cut out, we can cut the bottom part off here. That part is still attached to the car, so it won't be floppy. Be easier to cut. This part here don't make any difference. I'm just getting it down as low as I can get it so it won't be in my way. But we can clamp this door frame in the vise over there once we get it off and make this cut. And you have to do the same thing here. You have to make sure that you mark it in the same place so when that comes back it'll touch from this side. Same way here. All cars are not, the inside and outside edge is not parallel to one another. You got to make it, you got to cut it where it's going to work out right. You have to study this out before you start marking. Same way on this. See, this one's straight on this car, but some of them, like this right here, be straight where the weather seal goes, but this step out right here to the outside will have a curve this way. So you'll have to watch, make sure you get that right. Now went on back to the back here and I laid this out here. Now what I did here, I took me a straight edge and I laid it, just sided along this right here and continued right on back with it. It'll be back 5 or 6, 7 inches. You scribe that off with a scribe. Let me show you what a scribe is here. We don't want to lose anybody. It's a real sharp, just like a needle instrument. It's got a little hook on one end for getting in tight places, real sharp on the other. If you don't have one, you can pick one up at a machinery supply place. Or I have used something like a pole barn nail or even a concrete nail. Sometimes even a no screwdriver that you've broken the tip off of. Just sharpen it real sharp, real keen and sharp. And I use a little 6-inch steel scale here to make my amount I'm going to cut out of there, measure it off with. Let me go back up here a minute, I ain't through yet. You've got to notice too when you tape this off. I usually tape the straight one off first where it's not any compound curves or anything. You have to make this tape in a straight line. Anywhere you look at it on that post, you look at it from this angle, you come around and look at it from this angle, I'm talking about down here and up through here, you go back around on the back side. Even inside, you get where you can see. Having a hard time seeing it here. Hold on just a second. You get to where you can see that line is straight, because you can't cut a crooked line through here when you start cutting. Same way here. See, if you get down level with it here, you see that line is straight all the way through. Get back on the back side, you look at it, it'll be straight that way. And then when you make your cut, When you make your next mark, you take your scale or 1/6" scale, you measure down 3 inches, you mark it on this corner, this corner, this corner, the other corner, and when you pull your tape around, you follow those marks. That way you've got 3 inches of space anywhere you want to measure it. Okay, like I said back here, I got right in line with this opening right here, came back in line with it. I went up 3 inches, up here and up here too, and I came back straight those 3 inches. Okay, we're going to take 2.5 out back here. So I took me a long straight edge, I scribed me a line from there to a point up here. And I made this right here like a square corner. Now, let me explain to you again why we want 2.5 in the back. You see how this is leaning over. It's not straight up and down. So when we cut this, this will be the top part up here. It'll come straight down. You see it's not out far enough to meet the bottom. We're going to have to notch this a few times in this curve to pull that out. Well, when we pull that out, that's going to make that distance longer because you're going more diagonal. And I'm thinking the amount we're going to pull it out is going to make it come down another 1/2 inch to make it 3 front and back. If it don't hardly make it, that won't make any difference, but we don't want it bad off. And just for a reference point, I measured from right here down to the trunk floor and wrote it down before and then subtracted 2.5 inches from it, and to see what, or subtracted 3 inches from it, and just see how close I got it when I went back down. And like I told you before now, also, you see on the inside over there where the marks come back, my tape comes back, you got to cut that inside part too. And you've also got to, in here where this package tray comes together, you've got to cut that down through there, straight down, not leaning this way, because that's going to come back in, and if you cut it this way, it's going to either overlap or it's going to be a gap in it, so you got to come straight down and then kind of follow the contour of your fender around. Then I took out 3 inches right here. I'm going to take out 3 inches. When all that comes down, this point will be down to this ledge coming across here. Same way with this center armrest, you're going to have to take out 3 inches out of it too. I went ahead and cut this one so you can see. I started up here and cut down around and then took out a 3-inch piece. That edge will come down here when I get through. If it overlaps a little bit in this part, it's not going to hurt anything because everything's going to be covered up there with a seat and it's not going to weaken anything. But all this other stuff, like this right here, this will be butt welded. I don't overlap anything here. That's just, you're going to run into problems if you start doing that. That's butt welded, not overlapped. Okay, now you've got to separate your back window section from the roof. And you need to make good, straight, clean cuts here. I'll show you why. Also, I scribed me a line in the center. Now that'd be centered between this hinge, that hinge. I scribed me a line up into the roof here. That is center left to right of the car. On a Cadillac, you got these little doodads here you can go by where you put that chrome bar in the back window to make it look like a 3-piece window. But you can measure from drip rail to drip rail on whatever you have, get the center. That way when you put this back roof section back in, you won't do this. You line those 2 lines back up. But make sure that across here is a straight line. And what that's 3 feet, by the way, in this one, from the end of that straight line to the end of it out here on the corner is 3 feet, 18 inches each side of that center line. Then I just more or less eyeball this line right here coming down. I did mark it, but you can't see it in this camera, I don't think. But I always take you a magic marker or a pen or something, and you put your little arrow pointed toward the side of this tape you're going to cut. You cut on this side, that cut next to the side you're going to take out. If you cut here and cut up here, you took out too much. Okay, now you remember me telling you a while ago, on the windshield post, it's slanted that way. When you take your top, cut your top off and you get everything cut down, you put it back on, you got to go forward to meet that. And by the way, you cut all your top cuts first. Cut your top lines first. That way you set the top off, you got the car to hold the bottom part while you cut the bottom off. It's kind of hard to hold that top down, saw that leg off laying over on the floor. That's, like I say now, that's going to go forward. Okay, in doing that, that's going to make this top of this post go forward. The bottom is going to stay where it's at. It's also going to make this right here do different. It's not going to be meeting itself, but we'll get to that a little later on. But when you move all that forward, you're also going to move this forward. So you've got to cut this back window section out and make this meet right here. By doing so, you're going to have a gap across there. It's going to be probably 2.5 inch gap. You've got to put a piece in there to extend that up to where it meets again. I'll show you that further on into the video here. But always, like I say, point you an arrow on the side of the tape you're going to be cutting on. And by the way, I did put a straight edge down through here and scribe me a straight line and just put the tape on it so you could see where I'm going to cut it. I believe that's got you up to date on what we're going to be doing here. What I'm going to do now is I'll cut this off. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to cut this back window section out of the car. And we'll just lay it aside for the time being. I do need to tell you one more thing right here. You remember me saying that this gap right up in here between the top of the door and the drip rail was a little wider than I'd like for it to be? That's like a factory defect right there. All right, I took 3 inches out of this windshield post. I took 2 7/8 out of this door post right here. That way when I bring it back down, it'll be higher up in this way. Take care of some of that. You can do the same thing in the back. If it's too wide back here, you can take a little bit less out of here so you can push it up higher. You need to get your doors fitting good before you ever start any marking or cutting too. If they're sagging, you got to pick them up. Get your gaps right front to back. Just check myself here on my filming so far. There's a couple of things I didn't point out to you a while ago. I don't know if all the GM cars of this body style is the same or not, but you see this hole here, this one, and this one, that holds that vent window frame in. Now we're going to have to do some cutting on the vent window frame too to make it smaller. And it may or may not be that we use these holes, but if we do need to use them, then we have them, we don't cut through them and throw that part away, in other words. Try to make it where you can save those, and if you should need them, they'll be there, and if not, you can just weld the hole up later on. Be better than trying to locate one and countersink it and all that kind of stuff. And another thing that I need to point out to you, I took a 2x4. First I took a cardboard template and held it edgeways up inside the roof above that back window. And I made that line go across to fit the contour of that roof. Now what I'm talking about is right up here. Right in there below that tape on the bottom side, I made a contour. In other words, you can take this piece of timber right here, stick it up in there, and that'll fit that contour of that roof from the inside. That will help you when you go back. See, after you cut this in two and you get everything back up there, you can put that in from the bottom side and take your pour power and push it up and get the same contour again, and it'll hold it where you need it while you're working everything. And more than likely, we're going to have to slice this roof, like through here to pick it up, so to speak, because when you're going forward with it, you're not going up this way, you're going straight this way. So that's going to make it tend to suck down a little bit, and we'll have to slice it a couple of times on each side to pick it up and make it flow right. Another thing that I need to mention to you too, the inner support of this window up in here on the bottom inside, and also this panel on the inside in here. You need to keep your cuts from those. Don't cut up through them or get under them. Give you some space there, because you're going to have room to get your hammer and a dolly against where you're welding to work on it when you get to that point. If you cut across and got some of this inner stuff in under your cut, well then you can't work it and keep it from shrinking or bubbling up or whatever there. Okay, now we've got the rear window section out of it here. You'll notice we took the package tray, the trunk hinges, everything out in one deal. You see right up in there where we cut right down beside the side of the seat and went around the wheel opening. Something I didn't mention a while ago was this little brace I got from the trunk floor up to this ledge right here. The spot welds were broken in the factory supports right there, so I just braced it before I ever cut anything. That keeps this right here from doing this, so to speak. Now you can use different things to cut this with. I'll show you what I use. I've got a die grinder here. Now this is a big die grinder. This is one like you can buy for around $30, $35. This is what you call a 16th inch wheel, which I use mostly to just grind down little welds. This one is a 32nd. It's real thin. It's probably around, what they call a 32nd. It's probably around 30 thousandths thick. You can buy these at any welding supply place, and I personally prefer the Walters. Now the Walters seem to be a little harder to come by than something like Norton or something like that, but for me the Walters last a lot longer. You can use that, or if you have a good saber saw, you see this little deal right here that adjusts up and down right there, and what it does, this blade will oscillate as it goes up and down. When it's coming into the metal cutting it, it's coming this way into the metal. When it goes back down, it's coming away from the metal. And I use something like a 36 tooth per inch blade in them. They work real well, provided you've got the oscillating kind of saber saw, and don't have the blade going real fast when you do it. And you got the old reliable hacksaw, and the hacksaw is what I use to cut my post with, so to speak. Now, if you've got one of those old hacksaws that's got a wing nut back here, just give it a chunk and go get you a good one, because those with wing nuts tend to kind of want to lead one way or the other while you're trying to make it go the other way. It just keeps on going. But we've got this spot here out of the way, or this part out of the way. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to cut the door post, the top door post, not the door itself. I'll cut this post, and then I'll cut this back here, and then I'll cut the windshield post. Well, we done got all those cuts made and got the top setting off here in the floor. By the way, you're going to have to get you somebody else to help you unless you're awful big. That top's not that heavy, it just hard to balance it and squat down and get up and bring it out of that car. I went ahead and cut the door frames down here what it is, I had to wait on somebody to come by to help me set the top off, and I just went ahead and did that while I was waiting. Now you'll notice I got these little pieces of metal clamped right here. Now I hadn't cut this bottom one yet, but I just clamped this up here to keep that roof section from sliding off, since this is a slant right here. Just more or less done that to hold it in place till I got everything cut. And we'll go ahead and cut off this part, and then we'll cut off this part back here to get our top to come down. Now I'm hoping that when we go forward and down to meet this, that top post is going to come in here and drop off the front side of this one, and it won't be in the way. Now I don't know if it'll come down and hit the door or not, I'm not sure about that, but anyway, what I want to show you too, you see how this right here is touching? That all happened when I cut it in two. But now we got a trick to get that back right. See, I got my car sitting on blocks right here underneath this hub. I got my jack right here up in front of the leaf spring there, right behind the door. And what we're going to do is we're going to jack this up. And when we jack it up, you watch that gap open up right there. Now what we'll do is we're going to do this side, and the other side moved a little, but it didn't move as much as this side. So we're going to get this where we want it, and we're going to take us a block. We're going to set underneath that frame right there. Just block it up to where it'll be touching, so when I take the jack out, it won't come back down. And we'll leave that like that, and that way that door gap will be good when we get through. Or would you leave that like that until you get the top completely put back on, the back window section and all? And when you turn it loose, it won't move. You'll also, as you cut this off and go back with it, you see this seam going right through there? That is a lid seam from the factory. Now we're just where the body was put together at, and they put a V in there from the outside edge, and then they put lid through there. So let's see now, we're going to cut all that out when we cut off our 3-inch piece here. We're going to cut all this out. There won't be any lid there. It might just be a little smeared over on the other part, but in the upper part, the roof section right along through here, there'll be that lid seam right in there. So you'll have to take your torch and melt all that lid out of there, and use your little die grinder to grind all that tin and stuff off of it where it'll weld good. And also you see this old undercoating stuff in here. Sealer, well not sealer, but it's undercoating, sound deadener, insulation, whatever. You're going to have to clean all that off, both underneath the roof section and on this right here too, because that stuff's going to contaminate your weld, and it's not going to weld good at all. And another thing here, before you set your top back on, after we take this off, we need to grind this edge back at least 1/4 to 1/2 inch on this right here. Don't sharpen it like a knife now, just grind it clean where it'll all be shiny. And we're talking here back on the back side, the door post, all that stuff, even on the roof section part. Down here at this corner where it goes back, you got to grind all that clean. Everywhere you go weld, it's got to be bright and shiny. Because there's 3 things you can't weld, and that's rust, paint, and grease. It just won't work. Now the fact that this door gap closed up on us, that may be that the body mounts are tighter in the middle than they are on each end. I know the cowl didn't sag any, the doors are not dropping any, so the back of it had to come up this way to close that gap up. So we're just going to push it up in the center and let that frame bow just a little bit and make it stay where we want it to stay. Well, we've got our top completely cut off and set aside here. Took out our mount right here, went ahead and ground everything down slick and shiny. Removed all the undercoating and stuff from the inside. Cleaned off down the edge of this back seat part. Got our blocks underneath the frame there to keep our door gap spread here like we want it. Got the windshield post cleaned off. Now this little piece of metal I've got clamped on right here, stick it up, that's just when I set the top back on, it won't fall off in there. It'll set, this right here will hold the back side of it, in other words. And by the way, you'll probably need you a little help to set the top off. It's not heavy, but it's hard for one guy to squat down in there and balance it and stand up and move out of the car with it. We've still got to grind down our post on the top part, and back here at the back end where we're going to be welded, we need to get that cleaned off and before we set it back up there. Also underneath the top, on the underside, ahead of the back window back here, you'll have to get that old insulation tar paper stuff from there and clean that off real good, because if you don't, when you're hammering on it and stuff like that from on the bottom, you'll get it all over your hammer. The headliner bows, you got to remove some of them from like the doorpost back. So we'll get everything cleaned around the edges here and set it back on there, and you can get an idea of what's going on. I know some of you think, well, 3 inches is not much, but it's whatever amount you want to take. It's the same procedure, just more or less in the amount. And a lot of people think more is better when you chop a top, but that's not necessarily true. This car is going to be lowered closer to the ground, and when you do that, the top gets taller, so we're just bringing the top down in proportion to how the body is going to sit. Okay, we've got our top sitting back on the car now. I want to point out a few things to you. Now the door window frame I've just got setting up in there. Nothing's cut or anything like that. I just set it back in there so you could see the height of the window afterwards. And if you'll notice back at the front of this video, when I was standing about the same place I am right now, the door window opening appeared to be taller at the back than it was toward the front where the vent window should be. And they want to back up and look at that, because I'm sure somebody wants to know why I took 3 out of the windshield, which was only like 2 1/4 vertical, and I took 3 vertical out of the back. If you'll notice now, that window opening in that door is more parallel with itself top to bottom. That's one reason I did that. And then too, like I told you in the beginning, it gives it a more sloping look toward the back by putting the crown of that top just a wee bit further forward. But I'll go now and show you a couple of things. Now I had to go back in when I set it up there. My inner piece over here, I didn't take hardly enough out, because you're having to pull this top out a little bit to make it connect up with the outside skin, and that tends to lean it over this way, which tightens this side up. And I had to go back and get about 1/8 of an inch on each side. You'll also notice right here that it comes back and then it's got a little corner, starts downhill. Well, that's where we made our curve and started down this way, and when we went forward and set the top back on and had to go forward to meet that windshield post, that moved all this forward. You can see right here where this little line comes up, it's about 1/2 an inch back further than this line. Now that's due to going forward. Now this right in here where it comes up and don't meet itself,
we can fabricate a little piece to come on down here, or we can take that little piece off of what we cut out and put it right in here too. And this is another reason that I didn't take a whole lot out of the back. You see how this comes down and makes this curve? Well, we're going to put this stainless trim back on here. Now the Cadillac has got one on the bottom just like it does up here on this side, and it fits into the window opening. It's not a space of, color between the window opening and the stainless there. It just depends on what model car you have as to what that's going to look like. But I believe on the Cadzilla car, they cut like 5 inches or so out of the back, or maybe even more. But if you'll notice on it, this comes back to a sharp point. And I try to stay away from that because when you do that too, you make your quarter window look even smaller. And you wind up with a little dinky quarter window, and then you got a great big door window, and to me that just don't look right. Now we'll move on up to the front. When we set the top back on, and by the way, this drip rail on the lower part of the post right here, when I cut it in two, it was the spot welds had turned loose and it just more or less fell off, so I went ahead and just took it off for the time being to get it out of the way, and we'll put it back on here once we get finished. But I'll move over here where the drip rail is on, and I'll show you what's taking place. Let me get this door window frame out of the way now, so you can get a better idea here. Don't want to confuse anybody. You see, when we came back down, I told you this post was leaning in just a little bit. And when we came back down with it, we're about 1/4 or 5/16 off. Now, if you chop it lower, that's going to be off more. It's the top part, in other words, is inside the bottom. That's true on the corner where your glass goes, and then on the inside too. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to equal that out from one side to the other. We're going to get the same amount inside up here as we do have over on the right side. And when we get that center and we get our back corner back there pulled out to where it should be, once we trim our little leg off that I told you was turning down right here, we need to trim that off and make it where we can butt weld it from that point to here. But what we're going to do is we're going to tack it, like about right here on this corner. We're going to tack that, just a tack right there. Now that is after we get this part centered right here. We're going to tack this one on each side. All right, that makes sure we got all 4 corners tacked in place now. And then when we get that done, we'll know we got the top setting center where it should be. Then we're going to come back, leave that tack for the time being. We're going to go right down through here and cut that. Now you may have to take out a little bit more than a saw cut on this inside. Okay, and then we're going to go up here in this corner about where it would be halfway of the corner, so to speak, and we're going to cut through here almost to the drip rail. And we're going to cut almost to this corner right in here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cut our spot weld into right here. We're going to push that out a little bit. We're going to push this in a little bit till this becomes a straight, it meets itself, in other words. Now you may have to take you a pair of clamps and put on it and twist one just a tad or pull one back just a tad, but all this should line back up. And you need to lay your straight edge on this edge right here where the glass goes to make sure that is a straight line. Because the glass is flat, this has to be flat too. You need to also get up in the door opening and sight down this way to make sure your drip rail don't go out and back in or in and back out. That needs to be a straight line too. And when you get that like you want it, well, then you tack it over here, you tack it up here, you tack it a few times right here in this post, like on each corner or whatever. Then you go over to the other side, do it the same way. When you get both of them tacked, then you can come back over here to this side and weld it out, completely weld it out. Then go back over on the other windshield post and weld it out. That way you know everything is right. Now, like I say, you've got to pull this one out, push that one in, But as you're doing that, you make sure this little edge right here where this glass goes, put your straight edge right down through here and make sure it touches it all the way up and down. You'll have to fool with it a little bit right here, but this is one place where windshields crack. Is if you got this in a crook and you put that windshield in there, that rubber is going to be pulling on that windshield somewhere. And it can cause leaks too. Now you may think, well, no more than I got to push this out, I can put me a porta power in here, put it over here on the other side, and I can push that apart. When you do, you're going to suck this center down, and that's going to mess up your windshield fitting back in there. So don't cut any corners here. I don't do this to see how fast I can do it. I do it to see how perfect I can do it. And you know, so I told you in the beginning, I didn't know how this was going to work out right here on our windshield, our doorpost. See, I just cut this in two. I didn't take any amount out. But it just so happened that this slid right down in front of the bottom part and is touching it on both sides to make this come out right. In other words, you've got to look across here and get that post, like this, so to speak, that way. You don't want to get it overlapping this way or back behind this way. It's got to be straight there. That's looking from one post over to the other post. So we'll tack these corners down and slice it apart here, and I'll show you what we're doing there. All right, we've got our windshield post lined back up here. I cut right through here with a hacksaw. I didn't have to weld anything out here on the outside now because I didn't go all the way through it. And I cut in the middle of this curve out almost to the drip rail, same way back out under here, almost to that step off in there where your rubber seal goes on the door. And you got to push this in just a little bit. Now I'm talking about pushing it in this way. Don't push it toward the back seat. Push it over toward the center of the dash, so to speak. And this up here, you got to spread it out this way a little bit. Now, in spreading this right here, if it's a little hard to do, you can take a real keen tapered, I use like a carpenter's chisel, wood chisel, and put in there, and that'll drive it down in there, and that'll spread it to where you can get this right. And you see from this line up, it's straight. In other words, it don't go out and back in, or it don't go in and back out. It's straight. And a better way to look at that, if you can't see it from that angle, because a lot of times the hood and front fender is anyway from looking at it, but you can get up to the top of the car, look down this way. Make sure that's straight. And then another thing, you'll have to work with it a little bit in your center section right here. When you get this part lined up, you can clamp you a pair of vice grips like on this edge right here. And if this is a little bit off this way, you can, when you get your vice grips clamped, you can move them this way, and that'll shift this that way to get it right. And also, you'll probably have to clamp it back on the backside somewhere, do the same thing. In other words, tack it like out here where you know it's straight, and then come over here and zigzag this one to where you can get these 2 points the same. Then get back on the backside, get you about 3 or 4 tacks around it to make sure it's going to be where you want it. And I told you another thing, this ledge coming down through here is where our glass seal is. The rubber goes around the glass and goes in the car too, is going to clip over this little ledge right here. I wanted to show you that you can take your straight edge, you swap hands here, take your straight edge, lay on that. It's got to be straight. It can't be humped out and back in. It's got to be straight, because your glass is straight on that end out there. And I went ahead after I got everything tacked here. top and bottom. And I usually tack this top one on this going down this way. If you get it out here on the skin part, this can still be high or low. It'll move on you, but if you go down this way, it won't move. Also, you need to tack it on the back side, because this one up here is a little more stubborn than this one is. And down in the bottom, after I sawed this, I took my die grinder with a little thin wheel and just recut it into here to widen it out a little bit. I think it was something like a good 1/16 of an inch that I had a gap over here, and then when I pulled it over, I don't know that it completely closed it up, but it gave me enough room there to do that. And you can see another thing here. Get this door closed. Down in here where your rubber goes, it goes around the door window frame. That's wide now because we leaned that over and we didn't lean this over. So when we get to work on our door window frame, we'll have to notch inside of here and lean this over too. In other words, you want to keep this the same from this point pretty much all the way back. In other words, the distance between the door and the top, so your rubber seal will seal off good. And I don't know if you could see it before when we mentioned it, but I told you the center bar of that windshield leaned back more than this windshield post did on the side out here, and you might not have been able to see it, but since we took our 3 inches out and got it setting back up there, you should be able to see that center bar is leaning back more than this is. Now we'll get deeper into that, but that'll be probably about the last thing we do on the outside part of the top. And I don't know if I showed you a picture from this front angle before we cut it, but if you notice, the windshield opening was quite a bit higher. And you might say, well, it don't look low enough now. You've got to remember, you've got a rubber to go around there and a chrome trim to go back around. And that'll be 1 inch at the bottom and 1 inch at the top smaller when you get through. So you have to notice that stuff. Well, I'm going to go ahead, and I went ahead, after I got these corners tacked here, I went ahead and pretty much welded this up completely right here. Because when I welded this, I didn't want this to draw this right here. I wanted that to be right. And I pretty much got it welded completely, except for the drip rail part. So I'll go ahead and weld that up and then grind everything back down smooth. And another thing here, wait a minute, I done hit the wrong button. There we go. Another thing here, in both this cut and this cut, I ran into lead, so this top was put onto this post somewhere up in here. What you got to do, you got to grind all that lead out. There's a good bit of lead right in here. You got to grind all that out and get down to the bare metal, and when you're grinding on it, if it's not throwing sparks, you're grinding on lead. And when you get down to the metal, you'll notice the metal is a little darker of a shine than the lead is. The lead look like, it'll be whiter looking, so to speak, so you got to get all that off because you can't weld. And then too, when you grind it all off, take your saw blade and go back down through there and clean it out because it'll get down in that saw cut there. And you need to weld everything that you can possibly get to. Everything. In other words, if there's an inner brace inside this skin, you grind back your outer skin to where you can weld the inner part along with the outer part, where you weld to go all the way down in there. Because you want it to be as strong now as it was to start with. Okay, we've got our windshield post slicked off there with a little paint put on it so it won't rust on us. We're going to slant this door post next, and in doing so I'm going to explain to you how to do it if you don't want to slant it. In fact, I'll do that first. If you don't want your door post slanted, you need to take you a piece of conduit or something about right along here and tack it here straight to the floor to keep this from dropping.
Now, I've seen a lot of people, they'll cut this in two down through here and take out a section here to scoop this post back. There's a lot of stuff in there where that grip rail and roof and all that stuff hooks up. So what I do, just behind your support here, coming out of a curve here, I cut up through the grip rail up into the roof line, say about 5 inches, give you room to get past all this inner structure. And then you remember me telling you we was going to have to slice the top a couple of times on each side to pick it up back here to get the rear window to look right back through there. When you cut up through here, cut you a straight line. What I mean by straight, I mean go straight with the car. Pick out you a bead or something that's in the car going front to back in the pan or full pan or something like that. You go straight back with it, all the way to where you cut out your back window section. You take this whole section, you scoot it back until this lines up. And then you'll have to make your little piece to go right back in here like it was. You can take your grip rail section from what you took out of the windshield post and put it back in here. You should have a little bit left over after you do that. A lot of people will take the grip rail completely off the car. Now that's whoever likes what, but personally I don't like it. I think it makes all this in here look too tall because you don't have anything here to break it up, so to speak. And you'll be surprised how big this gap gets up above this door when you take the grip rail off on some cars. So that's where you're going to have to fill all that up. And then another thing, if it's raining, water running off of this top will get down in around your rubber seal here around your door, and then when you open that door up, it's going to all pour in your lap. That's another thing I don't like about it. So that's how you would do it if you wasn't going to slant these posts. And if you want your post straight up and down too, by moving this back, that means your window is going to be a little bit smaller. Well, no, I'll take it back. It won't be either, because when you move this back, that'll go back too. So that wouldn't change anything there. My mistake on that. But anyway, I'll go through what you need to do here if you're going to slant these posts. Now, this right here is where the door shuts up. This is the door gap right here. So therefore, that's where you're going to have to slant it back at, right here. And you got to figure out, so to speak, how much to cut out of it. But you put your straight edge from here down to here, and you can see how much your door post is going to slant. In other words, that's where your door gap is. This is where your door gap is. You go from top to bottom. And if I figured right on this, we'll cut. You get center of this radius right here for your first mark. When you figure out how much to cut out, you go half of that one side, half of it to the other side. I've got to scribe off. I hope you can see some of it. In other words, you cut this from here to right here, come out to nothing right up here. Then you come back and you cut this out. It'll be like a little triangular piece you'll take out of there. Okay, now over here, you cut it from this middle of this radius up to this point too. Don't get into your grip rail now, because you're going to have to pivot that back. And you got to take out a piece to push it back, and this right here is going to spread open a little bit when you do that. Now, when we put the top back on, you'll notice this part back in here is sloped inward too. So we had to pull the top apart back here to get it to meet. In doing so, this post here come out this way at the bottom. And it's going to have to anyway, and it's pretty much straight. So we ain't got to worry about the in and out part of it. It'll take care of itself. But now this bottom one is still going straight up. In other words, it's sticking out past this top out this top part out this way. And on this particular car, now I don't know that all of them is like this, but you see this little crook right here going back that way. I'm going to notch this post from the corner all the way out, because it's just got to come over this way, and there's nothing back here to stop any of that. So I'm going to try to take it out right here in this little crook to get rid of that, because that little crook is not going to line up right when we In other words, it'll come up and then straight up, then make a zigzag again. We want to make that a flowing line if we can. So I'm going to try to take that out, and you'll have to, what I've got figured out here is 3/8 of an inch. Right here and right here, back to nothing. And by this post here having to come forward and lean in too, you need to scribe off from this corner back to the back edge and make this one back here, say about 1/8 of an inch wider than what you've got this space here. That way it'll lay over. In other words, it'll pivot from this corner to this inside corner. In some cars, again, some cars may have more of a radius in here. This one's pretty square. But I don't remember, I think a Chevrolet's got more radius. Chevrolet, Pontiac, even a 98 O's in a 48 model shared this same body style. But I know the 49 through 52 Chevys and Pontiacs and Oldsmobiles, the smaller size Oldsmobile is the same as the Chevrolet. But anyway, up in here, that little pie shape you cut out, don't throw that away, because this little curve right in here, you may want to cut that off and put it back in there once you get through to keep that flowing. So we'll whack this out right here, and what we're going to do when we get it out, we'll take both of them out, and we're going to measure from where we cut down here to this point up here. We'll say it's, I don't know for sure, but somewhere, we'll say it's 12 inches, just to have a reference point here. What we're going to do is we're going to trim this one off, this bottom part off, to where we can mate it to this one and come out 12 inches long. Now that's, like I say, that's just a reference point, that 12 inches. We'll weld that together at that length, or we can hold it together and put it up there and make sure it's going to go in there. We can weld these two pieces together to make one to go back in here. And the reason I like to do it on the table is you can get this line here straight, because your door edge is going to be straight. That's got to be straight, and right here where your glass goes, that's got to be straight. So you can get all that right before you put it back in there. So we'll get into that and show it to you after we cut it out, so to speak. Okay, we got that doorpost cut out of there. Go over it again with you here. This one was straight down like so. You see what we cut out. And my 3/8 of an inch was about a 1/16 shy. So I had to go back and trim a little more on each side there with my little grinder to get it to come back the way I want it to come back. Now you can see that little doodad right there. Don't worry about that. You can just fill that in with weld when you do the rest of it. I'm talking about this little feature line coming up here and then making a zigzag. A little weld, a little grinder will take care of that. And then this bottom piece, it was sitting like that, so we notched out a little bit here. And then too, we got to lean it over that way some, so we had to duck off a little bit more back here than we did on the outside, like about 3/8 here and about 7/16 or a half back here. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to measure from this point, right there where your door gap is. We're going to measure from that point up to this point. And we're going to cut these two, that length. Remember how much it takes, and we're going to weld these together. We're going to keep this line straight where the door gap is. We're going to keep this line straight where the window comes in behind it. So we'll get this cut down, weld it back, and I'll stick it in there and show you before we tack it in. I might say one more thing here. I know earlier I said something about how you cut this stuff with, or what you use to cut it with. I know some people like a Sawzall. You go ahead if that's what you want. That ain't my bag, because that Sawzall cuts so fast that you can't see what you're cutting back here. And you start out with a hacksaw, and by the way, I use a 24 tooth blade on this stuff. An 18 tooth blade it tends to snag too much if you're trying to get out too much at one time. And then too, when I get down to the window inside moldings and stuff like that, I use a 32 tooth blade, which is even finer than 24. But that's just whatever a fellow wants to use, but I tend to like the hacksaw better than I do the sawzall. Okay, we got this post welded together in the center here, keeping this line straight and this window line straight back here. Got it tacked in place. You'll notice the way I did this one now, this line in here was making a curve this way when I cut that out. So therefore, this part is just a little bit inside this part. But we can weld that up and slope that off with weld, grind it down, and it'll still be the same. I'm trying to keep this out here where it fits the door. And another thing you'll notice when you cut in here, this corner, when you slammed your post back, this corner kind of come in like this. It didn't have a flowing line. So before you stick this in there, slice up into this corner and slice up into this corner, and that way you can pick this jam part back to make it one flowing line, and you can weld it up later. If it's big enough, you can put a piece in there, but if not, you can fill it with weld. Now this is as far as we're going to go with this post now. Now I've more or less tacked this one or welded it solid on this inside at the bottom, and I've welded it a good bit out here on the outside at the top. Now the reason I'm not going to weld it in there is when you make your slices, I'll turn the camera around just to show you here. When you make your slices in this back of this roof section, you're going to be slicing like here, maybe 3 times on each side. I'm not sure yet. But anyway, when you see how this is going straight across here, that's caused from us pulling this back in out this way. Or we're going to have to slice this into the back, a little bit of the back window section and up here too to pick this up. That's what we made this wooden contour to put up inside there. But when this comes up right here, if you'll stand back and notice, this over here moves up in here. So we want to let that relax itself, so to speak. And by welding it on the inside, at the bottom and the outside of the top, that can let that thing lean over a little bit more if it wants to when we pick this up. So that's as far as we're going to go with it at this point. I'll go over and do the one on the other side, and then by that time we'll be ready to get back in this back window section. We've got our back window section setting in place here just to show you what's going to have to be done. You see I cut my strip out here. I come right out of this curve, right at the very end of this curve, and took my cut. Alright, this was sloped inward right here. Straight this way, but also leaning in. So when we set it back on there, see this part up here is running inside the bottom. But before we try to attach this anywhere here, we're going to take it back loose. Take it back out, it's not attached, it's just sitting up in there. But we're going to add us a piece onto this section here about 3 inches wide in line with this section. In other words, we're going to lay us an edge up here and come straight on out and extend this part 3 inches. We'll cut a 3-inch strip. Now I'll probably cut it in 3 pieces and join it up here on this corner. And then we'll just tack weld this about every inch or so all the way down. Butt it. We won't overlap it, we'll just butt it. And that way when we come back in, we can stick this part in underneath the roof. And of course we're going to have to slice the roof like I said a few times. Stick this underneath it, then we can pick this roof up to make it align with the back window section. You'll notice too that when you set it back in there, your package tray, course, it's gonna be 3 inches lower because it all goes in together. And also where the back of the seat structure there attaches to out inside the car, you came straight down back there, so you're gonna be a little bit off here. On this one, it's about 5/8 of an inch difference. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna slice it across there, right on the corner of where your package tray comes in, and it makes that corner go down about 2 inches here for your seat to set against. We're gonna slice it right on that corner, and we're gonna put a 5/8 strip across there to move that package tray forward so it'll line up with where the back of the seat should be. And on that too, we'll probably just tack out about every inch. There's no need of welding it solid because it'll be just as strong anyway. I mean, it's not like you're trying to seal it off or anything because it's got room around the package tray to let the air circulate to start with. And I'll back the camera around to the back here and show you this back end to show you what we need to do back here. And you'll also notice when you set it back in, this back window section is sitting inside this right here. What we're going to have to do, two things we may have to do, I'm not sure yet, but you see how when this makes this curve down here and comes up, it's turning this way. We cut it as close as we could down this way without getting into the curve going down this way. So what we may have to do is slice this trough about 1 inch or so down where that can lay over a little bit. And then we're going to have to slice this one up here like 2 or 3 times to bring it out. But I'm going to slice this first here, and we're going to have to slice the complete trough out up to this corner. And pull that out to meet this. But now if this comes out like that, we may have to put the bottom back in a little bit to make it a flowing line. You don't want it to kick out and then go over. So we'll just have to see what happens after we slice this. And of course, this part up through here now, we're just going to pull it out and butt it. When I go over out that, we're going to butt it up. And then to make sure that you get this section here straight, left to right, remember me telling you earlier, just measure from like the corner of this hinge box over to a body mount bolt that way, and then measure from that one back this way. You'll be Xing it, and if you get both measurements the same, that way you'll know your left to right the same. So we'll get all that stuff taken care of and then set it back up there and let you see what took place to get it lined up right.
Well, after about 5 hours worth of work right here, we got this thing just set up here where you can see what's taking place. I went ahead and added me a strip right here. It's almost 3 inches long, between 2 3/4 and 3 inches. I just tacked it about every 1.5 inches or so onto my back window part. Now I did that on the table over here, and I took a straight edge. Let me back up here and find me a straight edge, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I took a straight edge and I put it straight with the bottom part. In other words, you can see right here. You put it straight with the bottom part there to keep that going on up. Don't get this part here like down that way or up that way. Keep it in line with the part around the back window there. It'll take some doing, and this is butted up. This is not overlapped. It's a butt weld, just tacked in place. And you can see that when I slid the back window back in there, I slid the back window section up underneath the roof skin. You can also see here where I've sliced the roof. See here, I've sliced it up, let's see, about 10 to 12 inches behind the post. And I went about, this is like 5.5 inches right here. This one here is about 6.5. That's in line with this coming across here. Then I skipped over about 6 inches there and did it again. Because we don't have that inside pushed up yet, so you can still see it's got a little dip right in here. Got a little dip right in there. We ain't got that up high enough yet. And then see still we're overlapping in here. We want to push it up until this butts up right here. And on the package tray there I was telling you about, you can see the little piece going across there. I cut that part going down off right on the corner, and I extended it about 5/8 of an inch so it would come back and meet where it did before on the end over there. Now I hadn't put the part going down this way yet. I'm going to wait till I get everything else tacked in place in case I have to move it forward or back just to shave there to get it in. I don't think I got it right, but I just want to be sure. And I just got those 2 blocks under the package tray right there to kind of hold it up to where the roof will line up a little better. Now in the back here, you can see where I've cut it in the trough 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And I spread that each time from the bottom to bring this on out. Because before, this part was going down and sitting about an inch or so inside the bottom part. Okay, I cut this 3 times and kind of equally spaced how much I spread them apart. And when I got there, I was still a little bit off, so I came back and notched it a 4th time. I've done this on each side now. And this part right down here was kind of coming up too straight up right in here. So I went right in under here and sliced this, took out close to 1/8 of an inch down in the bottom and pushed that over where it would be a flowing line all through there. Now what you got to watch for here, remember me telling you in the beginning, you pick out something like a body bolt right here that bolts the body to the frame. You measure from that side to this corner of this hinge box. Now I did this before I ever cut anything in the beginning. And I measured from that bolt on this side back to this hinge box. I X'd it out and it was exactly the same measurement. So when we go back in with it, we're going to put it exactly the same that way. That gets this part this way right. And 2, you need to measure from the bottom of your hinge box down to the floor to make sure you don't have it in there this way. If you do, one side's going to be slanting in more than the other side. You want to keep that the same on both sides. Now you remember back in the beginning, this right here come off and kind of went pretty straight down, but it's really got a flow to it there now. And like I say, we just got all that tacked right there for right now. I hope I hadn't went so far here that I lost someone. But I don't think I have. And you remember me telling you in the beginning that I took out this 2.5 here rather than 3 because we had to pull all this out and that would make it drop more. Well, right now, from the corner of this hinge box to the floor, I'm a 1/16 of an inch shy of the 3 inches we took out of it at the front. So in other words, when we get all this welded here, it may shrink enough to pull everything down a 1/16, and we'll have 3 inches here and 3 inches at the front as far as taking it straight down goes. But I'm going to get me now you can take a porta power if you like, but you remember that 2x4 that we cut to the contour of the roof with a curve to it. I'm going to put that up in the top up here, right where it laps over, on my lap over part. And I'm going to push it up. Now you can use a porta power, or in my case, I like a little jack better. I just put a porta power top on it, the rim of a porta power, and I can stack all my tubes up to extend it up there. And we'll just push that up until we get the flow right. And hopefully when we get the flow right, this top part and this bottom part out here will butt up and not lap over. And when you get to doing that, this little scribe mark we made right up through the center. You need to make sure you keep that little scribe mark lined up with itself. Don't get it this way or that way. And just to make sure you're getting each side up straight, when you get it in there, you measure from the seam here. You measure this piece you put in there on each side. Make sure that's the same size on each side. Don't get it narrow one side and wide the other side. Now we're too early to do this yet, but you can also sight through the car, up through the center of the car now. You can stand up or down, but get it to where your corner of your windshield goes out of sight the same on each side at the same time. Well, like I say, we're too early to do that now, but that's a good reference point to let you know that you don't have it in there one side higher than the other. So we'll go back here and get on the inside and jack this thing up and see what we can get out of it then. Okay, we've got that back window section more tacked in place here. Stuck it in and put the bottom section up under the roof and pushed it up. Now this is overlapped on this top side now. We're going to get back to that a little later on, but I got it where I wanted it and tacked it in. And you can also see out here on the side, I pushed it up until this here met, and that's a butt weld right through there, just tacked in place. Give you a little better look right here of where we sliced this and pulled it out, and then like I said, the bottom one I had to push it over a little bit, but that's like a flowing line. If you pull these apart too much and don't put enough in there, it'll kind of, on this corner out here on the skin, it'll kind of suck in between them. In other words, it'll be a hump and a groove, a hump and a groove. You don't want that. You need to make it, cut enough of them to where it flows out good there. And then you can see when we pushed it up to get it right, we're opening up these slices here. And when you put your contoured piece in there to push your roof up, make sure that you have it centered right to left, and make sure that your jack or quarter power is centered. Don't have it right to left of the car, because if you do, you're going to push one side higher than you do the other. And you can do whatever you take to kind of get your jack sitting to where it's pointed in the right direction here. And also, when you get into this, I told you a little bit ago there, you can get in the center of the car. Now that's the idea for putting this support in the back window center. You can center that up with your divider bar there in your windshield. Make sure you get straight behind the car, and you can come up and get the top of your window here in the bottom corner of your windshield. Just kind of go up and down and make sure those disappear at the same time. It's kind of hard to do with this camera because I'm standing over to the side of the camera. But if you get right in the center of your car and you've got your top in there this way, I mean your back window section in there this way, right, that should disappear at the same time when you come up and look at it. And make sure that you keep your scribe line in the center straight while you're doing all this. Now getting further on into it, I just got that center section tacked in place, and it'll pretty much hold itself there and it won't move. When you start working with it here, this little crack is opened up here and this one is opened up here. Make sure you keep measuring those from side to side and keep those the same crack on each side, so to speak. Don't get one more open than the other, because that means you're either pushing it up too high when you push it up to get it right, or it's down too low, or you've got it setting too far left to right. And then too, you can always get up in the center, look at that side and look at this side, and you can tell, if both of them are flowing the same. Don't get one of them going off faster than the other one. Now we can take our contoured piece out and our jack out, and it'll stay where it's at. Another thing, when you push it up, I don't know if you can see it with the camera or not, but I'll push it up to where I can tell it's just beginning to get too high. Because like I say, this top part of the roof is on top and this piece is underneath. So what we're going to do now, I'll go ahead and tell you now, when we get all of this tacked, this part will be overlapped, this part will be, we'll tack it all where we want it. Now you need to squat down here, look up this way. Make sure that's a flowing line. Don't have it sucked in and back out. You need to watch all that. But you can push it out, clamp it, whatever you have to do to get this in line, and then you can tack it. When we get all of this tacked, we're going to take our little thin ziz wheel. We're going to cut up here about 2 or 3 inches. We're going to butt these two pieces, and when we cut it, we'll take that little piece that's overlapped on the inside, we'll take it and turn it back out of the way. We'll butt these two pieces and tack them. And we'll go up another 2 or 3 inches, do the same thing. We'll go across the whole thing that way and take out that overlap. You may say, well, you know, it looks good to me like it is. But have you ever been to a car show, when you look across a car that's been chopped, you see this little, it's a dark colored car on a hot day. You can see this little seam going across it. That's why I'm telling you to cut this overlap out, because that will show. Now if the car is so far off as far as the shape goes and it's sunk down enough that you have to put filler on there 1/4, 3/8 or 1/2 inch deep, no, it's not going to show. But in my opinion, that's a whole lot more filler than you need to be putting on a car. You need to make this as perfect as you can doing metal work on it. The filler is just more or less to finish up the little hammer dings, and so it's not to fill up 1/2 inch low places, not in my opinion. You want it to still look good 5 or 6 years from now. So like I say, we're going to go ahead and get this right and tack all this, keeping our slices the same open, same space open from side to side there. When we get that done, we'll get back and show you some more. I'll stop right here now and show you something. I'm still working on tacking the rest of this in right here. I think you can see that my top piece has got a little bit of a hump in it compared to this, like this 6-inch strip we've got right here. Now what I did when I clamped this down, and what I do is when I got the 2x4 contoured piece in there, when I clamp this, I clamp the 2x4 and all the metal to overlap together. And this will tend to be kind of flat. So you push that up and hold it while you clamp it. Put a couple of clamps on, make sure that's got just a little bit of a hump to it. In this case, I've got this one humped up just a little bit too much. But I'm not going to worry about it right now, because when we slice this, we're going to have the width of that ziz wheel as a crack. So we can let that relax just a little bit. I mean, that won't have to move. Oh, we're talking just a few thousandths this way to make that go down. So we're not going to worry about that right now, but what I want to do here is when I was pushing this up to make this a flowing line from front to back, this part down here wanted to suck in. So I ended up slicing this down through here. Now don't go all the way to the drip well, because you can't get in there after you get so far down to hammer it from the back side. And that didn't open up, that didn't open up over 1/32 of an inch to make this come up to where we could do something with it. And then see, you can see where we got this clamp down where it'll be flush. I haven't went into the clamping deal with you, but you know, you see all this on the wall over here. Now if I was doing something like a 49 or a 51 Mercury, I'd use everything hanging on the wall and have had to go borrow a few more. But this one seems to work a little better. It's not fighting me as bad as some of the other cars do. And you can see you just do what you have to do on the inside here. I've got some 2x2s sitting on blocks and prized up against, and then two, you can't see it here, but I've got a piece of aluminum that's about 1.5 inches, 1.25 inches wide by, it can be 3/16 or something like that, going down through there underneath the top, and I'm pushing my pieces up against there. You just have to do whatever you have to do to make this flow. And then as you're pushing up and getting it right, and another thing, let me back up before I forget this slice on the outside of here, I want about 3 more inches further forward than I did with the back one. Now I didn't cut the back one, but this one seemed like it was wanting to kind of suck down back in here when I got this up, so I went ahead and sliced it about 3 more inches. But as you're doing this, as you're picking it up, you squat down at this angle. Make sure that roof is a flowing line. You don't want that to suck down, because if you do that, that just means you're going to have to add more filler to it. And if your eye's not good enough, you can't tell whether it's flowing like it should or whatever, you take you something like I have an aluminum yardstick. You can lay it up there like so, press down on each end of it, and just see how it bows. I can't reach out there and do it now, but you press it down on each end, you can see the bow, and if your top's not up high enough, it won't touch your roof. And do that all on down on the side over here. That way you can see if you need to bring it out lower. Now I don't think we're going to have to slice like this slice here. I don't think we're going to have to slice on back into the back window. It seems like it's holding its own pretty good. I just wanted to stop there and show you. And then too, this one here opened up not hardly 1/8 of an inch to get everything right. And this one here is opened up about 9/16 right on the very back end. So when we get this down through here tacked in place, we'll take us a piece of metal, like a strip, say 1 inch wide or so, put it up under the bottom, and then we'll take our 2x and porta power, whatever it is, to push under there along to get that like we want it. Then we'll scribe it off and take it back out and cut it that way. Now the little Z's wheel does real good in cutting these thin pieces because it don't twist everything up like snips will. And of course you can't use a saw on it because it's so thin. I'll take it back. You can use a saw like this one if you've got a fine enough blade, like a bandsaw. You can saw it with that. But anyway, when you get ready to go back with it, the piece that's higher up here, you take that little piece that you cut to go back in here, you tack it on to the high piece, keeping it in line with it. Then you can get back under the bottom and pick the lower piece up and get everything like you want it, and then you can tack it to the lower piece, and then as you've got it supported, tack it back and forth about every inch apart. I like to zigzag my tacks. That way when you have to hammer onto the bottom and pick it up when you start, when you get ready to weld it, those zigzags, that metal will tend to do this as it stretches so you can pick all that up. Now you just have to keep fooling with this and keep looking at it. Don't get in no hurry and start doing some bad work here. Now as far as this right here, when it gets down to like 3/16 or 1/4, I usually just weld that seam up. Now, but I'll tack it before I do any of that. And you say, you can't weld a seam that wide. Well, nobody's ever showed you how. You can do it. You take your little piece of aluminum, say 3 or 4 inches long, 1/8 to 3/16 inch thick, 1.5 inches wide or so. You put it under the bottom and take you one of your little timbers or something and push up on it. That aluminum will be right under the bottom of this. This weld won't stick to aluminum, and it'll hold your weld, so to speak, so it won't go all the way through. And then too, that aluminum will absorb a lot of the heat to keep it from getting so hot it burns your edges away. So we'll go a little further along here and give you another shot. We've got our sides tacked in place here. And I've got a little strip tacked in up through here, went all the way up to the end of my slice, tacking that part in. Remember, you put a little piece of, like a long strip of aluminum up in there, and you set your support from underneath and get down, squat down and look at that line, make sure you got it right. And if you'll notice there, when I put that piece in, I zigzag my welds there. That way, if you have to get in there and pick it up any after you get it tacked, that strip you put in there will kind of shift itself and it'll open up, so to speak, zigzag it to where it'll pick that up and spread it as it comes up. Now, like I say, this place right over here, the top part is still a little bit high from the bottom. But I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm going to go ahead, and what we're going to do here, we're going to, where the lap over is in our piece we added across there, we're going to take our little thin ziz wheel and we're going to slice up through here. Now, what I usually do, I grind off this spot weld flat with the top part, because this new piece is in under it. I'll grind that off smooth, and then I'll slice it about 2 or 3 inches, and I'll take my clamp and put it in there and clamp it back to where it's butted up, and I'll tack it. And I'll go cut out about another 2 or 3 inches, peel that part back on the inside, get it out of the way, clamp it together where it's butted up, tack it. I'll go all the way over the whole top that way and get that lap over out of there. That way it holds its shape and you're not fighting it. Now, every time you butt it up and tack it a time or two, get your clamp out of the way. Now, you can use a body hammer, or what I use is a shoe heel dolly, the round side of it. Just hit that spot weld 2 or 3 times with just a good firm bump, and that'll pick it up to make it smooth again. Or we'll do it while it's still hot. And you can see it move up, because it may look like it's kind of sucked down a little bit when you do that, but just take something and bump it from the back side a couple of times right in on that spot weld. Now, don't get off of the side, because you'll make between your spot welds hump up, and that won't finish out good when you get ready to grind your weld down. I'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll move on somewhere else. I don't think I've mentioned this before, but this new metal I put in, I use 18 gauge. The car is 20 gauge, and 18 is about 7/1000 thicker. So that way, if it sticks up just a little bit, when you get through grinding, you still got plenty of metal left. This is where you take a lot of time and make sure you got everything exactly right before you start messing with it. We want a good, clean, smooth job here when we get through. We've got our back window section all tacked in place and got our overlap pulled out. Got the top up where it's supposed to be. Now, you'll need to just keep looking at this, walking at different angles and look at it. You need to look at it back down this way to make sure everything looks right from both sides. You need to squat down, look at it from this angle, both sides. Look back through here, make sure that's straight, not dipping in where you put your piece in. Just, look, just keep looking. Different angles all the time. And when you, like I told you, when you cut your strip and peel out your overlap and take your clamps and pull it together and tack it, after you tack it, just hit it a couple of times with your dolly on the back side, enough that you can see it jump up just a little bit, just a shade too much. Now, if you start hitting real hard, you're going to break your spot weld. So just tap it enough to make it come back up while your spot is still hot. That way, when it cools, it'll go back where it should go. But you'll just have to look at it all across here as you do it, and then go look back across where you have been. Now, I started at the bottom on this side and came all the way up and got that top, where it was too high over here. I got that pull back down like it should be. And then after I got on past it a little bit, I went ahead and spotted that thin crack up through there. And I got on over into this part, like right along here. Well, in picking all this up across here, this wanted to suck in right here. So I just started back down here and started going up, and it still wanted to suck in. So I just ended up slicing this part back through here and getting it out where I wanted it. This here was okay, but this was still wanting to suck in. I reckon picking that up as I went made that suck in. I had a little of that problem on the other side once I got up into the top of the roof, but I kept picking at it and got it back out. And two, I'll show you when I start welding this stuff how you can work it too. You got to work it while it's hot. And after I got all that tacked in place, I went ahead and welded the doorpost and got this one ground down so you can see what it all looks like after it's ground down. And even went on the inside back in behind here and tacked all that inner structure around this back window frame here and tacked these corners out here. Now you can see when you come out here that there's a little gap right under there where it don't meet up right. Make this out here right. Now this gets wider as it goes down, and when you cut this out, it's not going to be as wide as this part. But just pull it out here to where this meets, and don't worry about that back there. And then where this comes on down, and we've got this gap under here, we can cut a little piece off of what we cut off of here and come on around here and join that. But anytime you do that, drill you a hole right at the bottom. It won't show when you get through with it. But drill you a hole right at the bottom in case any water ever gets back in there, it'll have a place to get out. But you got to look at the whole situation all the time. Just keep. And we've started welding up our slices in the roof here. You just start up on this end. And you just more or less weld from spot weld to spot weld. And every time you weld, you take your dolly on the bottom, hit it 3 or 4 or 5 times to pick it up. Then you weld again, pick it up, weld again, pick it up. I'll show you here in a little bit what procedure I use. Now what we're going to do is we're going to back off and do this other one here, starting at the top and work our way down. Remember I told you when it gets a little wide out here, you can put you a little piece of aluminum under there about 1 inch wide or so, for 3 or 4 or 5 inches long. Push it up, against it with your scotch or something. That way your aluminum will catch the weld and it won't go through on you. And what I do here, when I'm welding, like I'll start right here, I'll start up the front, but what I'll do after I get going, I hammer it up from the last one, I'll put my wire right against the edge of that one. I'll tack it. Just zzz, and that's it. Okay, when you see the red go away through your lens, do the same thing on that tack. You see the red go away, do the same thing again. Just keep doing it like that. You get too fast, you're going to burn your metal away from it. And if you don't hold it long enough, you're not going to get good penetration. And I use a 30 thousandths wire. And I use a 75-25 gas. Now if I can, I'm going to get under the bottom here and show you something. I don't know if it'll work or not. Don't know if you can see it or not. But there's my weld under the bottom. You need to make it look on the bottom just like it looks on top. Have it welded solid. When you get through welding, you get under the bottom and look up. If you see some light shining through some little pinholes, Weld up those pinholes. You don't want any place where moisture can get underneath your well later on, because that'll just cause it to bubble up somewhere down the line. Not get.
I'm gonna stop right here and show you something you're probably gonna run into. In fact, I know you're gonna run into it. When you start welding these up, you'll see that this one in here will want to pop down. What it's doing is pulling this metal to each one of these welds. That's the reason you pick it up. Even though you're picking it up, it's still gonna do that. You just get it to where it'll stay up for right now, because you don't want to overdo it while this is, this has to cool down before you really know how it's going to act. So just make that stay up, and you can take your pick hammer or the edge of your dolly and just peck it around from under the bottom. Just peck it around till it'll stay up there. That's as far as we're going to go with that right now. We'll after everything cools off, we'll get everything welded up, then we can come back and nurse up these little spots that don't want to act right. In fact, you'll probably get something over in here like this. But see, we hadn't welded this across here yet, so we're not going to worry about that right now. It's staying up, it's just that you can feel it give a little bit. We've got just a little more tape left on this first cassette here. And I'm just going to let it run and show you a little bit of my procedure of doing this. Everybody's got their own technique, but this is the way I do it. Of course, now the wider the gap, the further apart you space your welding. We got Zia's wheel crack on the top side. So that's a little bit wider than the one we butted up on the bottom side here. there should be just a little bit of a hump. And when it cools down, it'll come back down. Somehow or other, I've wound up with a hump in front of me. I'm trying not to hammer too much here to get it picked up too high. Also, when you get through with this, grind your welds down. Don't localize. In other words, just go over it, the whole thing, and then go back and go over the whole thing again. Don't take it all off as you grind. You'll get it too hot and work it again. When you get through, you need to go back under the bottom, look up through it. Daylight, you plug that little spot up because you want this to be solid and not get moisture a chance to get underneath your filler. Bubble your paint up later on. Well, we've got our back window section welded in here. Got all the welds ground down smooth. Got our X braces out of the inside. And that's after I got everything welded up and ground down and got the bars out of the window. Put our package tray back like it should be there. Welding it back together. I could have got by with probably adding about, maybe 5/16 or 3/8 of an inch across there. It may be, I don't know, a Chevrolet may not have this little tray down here at the bottom, and you could just lean the whole thing back. I'm not sure exactly how every car is. Went ahead and got our little piece fixed right here. Continue that down onto the end right there. Just cut us a little piece off the piece we took out of there and got it back right. That's like a lid seam right there coming up through there. You'll have to contend with that on just about any of them, depending on how more or less you take out. Got everything all ground smooth. Now this trough coming around through here, when you weld that up, make sure you get everything welded good, because that's where all the water runs, and you don't want to wind up with a leak in your trunk. And this one had a reinforcement piece, like the trough come in here, and then this piece out here went back around there, so I welded it on both sides. So you'll need to take your time here and get every pinhole anywhere you see one. I'll get up in the top here now and
showed you, even after you grind it, even while you're grinding it, you can kind of go back and tap it a little bit. Now don't hit it hard, you'll bust something loose, but I went ahead and ground everything and then run a piece of sanding block over out on the metal itself, and you see all those little specks out in there. Little bright shiny specks. Well, that's pick marks from my hammer. Because like I told you, remember this kind of pop up and down? You just get on the bottom and just peck lightly, just enough that you can see a little ping come up there. And just keep moving around and mash it back down. When it gets to where it won't pop in and out without a good bit of pressure, then you know you got it right. But now you don't want to pick it up so high that it's higher than anything else there. And you have to put a lot of filler around it to get everything going. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to work on our door window frame here. Starting out with notching this to where it'll lean over like the post. And then after we get that done, we'll go up here and we'll notch this one. We can shut the door, see, when we get this one done, we can shut the door all the way up, and that way we can recheck our gap again, make sure that's all right. And if you're worried about this gap, you can go ahead and cut this little piece off this door to begin with so you can shut the doors to check your gap while you're working with it. But we'll get that one leaned over and tacked in place. And then we'll get this one, make sure it's leaned over enough and fitting. What I use as a guide right here a lot of times is the thickness of a 5/16 nut going in behind here. And of course you can kind of follow your drip rail along too, make sure you keep it the same all the way up and down. But when you set this upper part back on, if you'll just take you a little piece of masking tape and tape you a 5/16 nut, I'm not talking about the 1/2 inch way, I'm talking about the thickness of it. Tape it on the back of your door frame, up here and up here. That way you'll know you won't get it leaned in where your rubber will be loose or too tight. I know somebody's worried about the deck lid. Well, we'll get to that. I hadn't mentioned it at all because that's what scares a lot of people in doing this to start with. If we can't get it to work, we'll just have to make an extended cab pickup truck out of the thing. But it won't take very little filler to do this right here. I've seen some of them where you just about have to pour you out a gallon of filler up on the roof, put your hardener in it and mix it all up right on the spot and just spread it around. I don't believe we're going to have to do that on this one. Or somebody won't have to do it. This is as far as I go with the top chop. I just get everything cleaned up and ground down slick, and I'll put some kind of spray can paint on it to keep it from rusting until it gets to where it's going. That way a fella can see what he's getting, not covered up. We're moving on to the window frame around the front door here. Remember back in the beginning when I told you that I took 1/8 of an inch less out of the door window frame because it was a little bit more open along the grip rail there than I liked? Well, it's still not any closer than what it was. But you can slide the frame forward till this hits the drip rail. This up here looks good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here about 4 inches from where I got it cut. This is the cut line right here. I'm going to come down about 4 or 5 inches from that and I'm going to cut through the top almost all the way through. And I'm going to bend that down a little bit so this will come more forward. That way this up in here will come up a tighter fit than what it is. It's just got too much of a gap in there to suit me right now. We've got, since we cut that a little bit long up there when we cut it out, we've got a little bit extra right here anyway, so we're not going to come up short. I went ahead and cut this off right here so we could close the door. And by the way, I forgot to tell you just a second ago to go ahead and get your blocks out here and check everything out, and also get your support from the cowl down to the floor out so you can know what your door gap is going to be. And we're more or less going to do this right here the same way as we did the post. We're going to cut this from this corner to this corner. Of course, now that's going to open up. You're going to have a gap on this side, enough to even put a little rectangular piece back in to fill it up when you get ready to go back. But we're going to take the piece we cut off of here and this piece, make them the right length. Now you need to make this a little bit tight on the height back here. And you also need, when you get them together, this post has got just a little bow out this way. So you need to make sure you keep the one you're going, this one, in line with this one. Now I know your window's going to be straight here, but you can cheat 1/16 of an inch on your window track and still be okay. And another thing, when you take this part of the post and tack it back onto the bottom, let it touch this post at the top. Because so you can't hammer and work this stuff and stretch it and whatever. It's going to pull when you weld it. So therefore, when you weld this up, you've got more to weld on this side than you do back on this edge. So it's going to move just a little bit. But now, what I usually do is just tack this after I tack it all the way up to here and let it touch this post. Then I'll take this piece and fit it in and tack it up here and tack it back here on the corner. And then when you weld all this stuff up, this will pull enough in this direction to make this come down and make this come over. Put this up tight too when you put it in the back here, because it's going to give a little with you. 1/8 of an inch, I'd say. If you got a 1/4 of an inch gap up through here and you want to keep that gap, put this like 1/8 of an inch at the top corner up here from top and back. You got to do what you got to do to make it work. Got that window frame out of the way there. I sawed right through here and pulled that over to make it go in line right here. It was sticking out a little bit at the top. And just the saw cut, the width of the saw cut, and then pulling it tight made that work out. Also, when you get back in here, when you lean this post over, this back jamb part back here, seems like this part up here is always just a little inside this. So you can slice it down in the corner there about 1/4, 3/8 of an inch. Same way back here on this corner. And when you get this thing setting up here and tacked in place, you can take your little punch and a hammer and tap this and let this part bend over from like 3/8 of an inch down to meet it. That way you don't have any rough welds in that edge right there. Somebody has punched a hole in here with a punch sometime or other. I don't know what they were trying to do, but we'll have to fill that up before we get through here. Thought I might ought to stop right here and show you something. You can see the two holes I've drilled in the door jamb right there. This track is going around the window frame that your felt weather stripping goes in, coming down. It goes on down into the door. And on this particular car, it's spot welded in at the bottom. Ford products have a screw with a slotted hole in them. But anyway, you've got to lean this post over this way And when you do that, this track is not in line with itself up through here. So you need to drill those 2 spot welds out, or if you have a screw and a nut there holding it in, you need to take that off and move over and drill you another hole, or even put you a slotted hole so you can adjust that. But this one, since it's welded in, I'm just going to sight from the top down before I put the top part of my door window frame on. I'm going to sight down through there and get that lined up. And it looks like I'm going to have to move this bottom over about 1 inch. And another thing, in cutting your window glass, when you have a slanted post, don't make your window go from here to here in the height of it. Let it come on down in the door as tall as it was to start with, because this is traveling, this is angle, so this part down in here is going to be straight down. And you want your glass to run in this. And therefore, if you roll your glass down, you still want some glass in this channel back here so it won't flop back and forth. So keep your 3 or 4 inches down in here that's still running in your track when you run it down. See, it's going to come loose from back here. It's going to come straight down and be away from your track. But it's a lot easier to sight down this thing now without that top piece on and get it straight than it is after you get it on there. And we went ahead and got this top part, the 2 pieces put together, and got them the right length, and then we went ahead and welded this end down here. And while we were doing that, we kept, messing with it, like keep this tighter than you do down here. By welding this up, I didn't have to keep it hardly as tight at the top as I did the bottom. It's not off that much now. But when we weld this top part on, that's going to tend to draw it some. And then if it comes down to where you get it drawed too much, you can always just clean this edge off to bright metal and weld you a bead down the back edge of it. And then take your sanding disc and finish it back off. Same way, if it's too tight, you can sand it off. When you do, you're going to have 2 pieces of metal, because when it wraps around, you're going to cut that in 2. You just run your bead down through there and sand that off. Any door gap you can do that with to a point. Now when it gets to where your jambs start touching each other, well, then you're getting into a more serious problem. So we'll go ahead and put this top frame in. I told you something wrong a while ago on this top frame. I said I was going to cut it from the top down and pull it apart. I'm going to cut it from the bottom up and pull it together. We just want a little more curve right in here, so this right in here will move up and close up some of this gap. We've got our top part of our frame pretty much tacked in place. You can see where we spreaded it open right here to bring it back. I had enough that I could weld about halfway through this. We got this little kickback again right here now, like we had on this part, but you can just weld you a couple of beads right down through there and just grind it back, and it'll all come out the same way. But we're going to have to put us a little filler piece in here. Depends on how much or less you cut it as to how wide that's going to be, or how wide of a gap you can weld up as to where you want to put one in there or not. I went ahead and welded this up and notched this up, and in other words, when we put a little more bend right in here, we just sawed this in two and pulled it together, and that made all this tighten up right up through here. Another thing, the top part of our frame here, going down this way, when we took our 3 inches out, this is not hardly as wide inside to outside as this is. So this stuck over a good 1/8 of an inch. So I went ahead and got everything else welded to this point. Then I just sliced it up through here with my Ziz wheel a couple of times and hammered this in, and that pushed that down. And now I got it where it's tapering from on up here. I guess I sliced it back about 3.5 inches and just tapered it on the end of the bottom one. It wouldn't be a notch there. Same way up here. We'll just continue this on around with a little filler piece. If you don't like the way this kind of goes in that way and goes in that way, you can slice it on this corner and slice it in the back corner, pick this up to keep you a flowing line right there. It's not too bad there, the amount we cut, but if you wanted to cut one a whole lot, you'd want to do that. But just make sure you keep your gap right and keep these right here flush with each other. Right now I've got a little more hump out this way on the back one than I do the front one. But we're talking 1/16 of an inch or so it is nothing there to worry about. And plus this door right here, you could cheat just a little bit bringing the door out because it's just a little bit in right along in this section right here. We got our other door window frame done. It was about like the other side. I had to notch this in here a little bit and put a little bit more bow to it. That might have had something to do with the way we lined the post up there to the windshield, because, you know, I said we had to kind of go in toward the center, and it might have changed that just a little bit. But they were about the same on each side of what we had to do, maybe just a wee bit difference in this or that, but I've never cut one yet that they both were identical. It'd be like a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch difference in them. But anyway, we got our old windshield just sitting back up there. Of course, it's too big, but this is just to give you an idea here of how it's going to fit. Now, I've got it out on this little ledge right here, which is the same distance from that where the rubber goes out here to the edge as it is from where the rubber goes here out to the top surface. And this windshield is fitting good as far as the straightness goes. You remember I told you on the last one, I cut about 4 3/4 out of the windshield post, and that made a lot of difference in the way it fit in there. But this one's fitting, it's not rocking. If you run into this problem where it touches here, and it touches here, and it touches here, but it's sticking up above your roof up here, in other words, it'll be rocking in there. Or let's see, it'll be rocking this way. It'll either touch up there or touch down here, not both corners. Well, what you have to do there, and if you'll notice, you see a lot of these cars is cut, they've got a Lexan windshield in them. But there's a way of getting around that. What you have to do, and you may have to cut your divider bar back in too, I'm not sure, I don't think you do, but right up through the center, straight back, you need to rip this in two. I'm talking about the reinforcement and all, and cut it this, with something real thin. Hacksaw would be fine as far as you can go, but go back up in there about 1 foot or so. And then you put a jack against this right here, and down kind of at the, I'll say where the back of the front seat would be, where it would be like a 90-degree angle to this divider bar right here. And you push that up until your glass touches. And you may have 3/16 of an inch gap there in your roof when you do that. But then support it there and weld that back up. And that way you can pick this up to meet the windshield. It's not enough that it'll never be noticed, by walking around the car looking at it. I mean, we're talking 1/4 of an inch, at the most, that you'd have to pick this up. And I know like a 49, 50, 51-2 Chevrolet, they have a 2-piece windshield too, but a 50 Oldsmobile windshield will go in those cars. So in that case, you'd have to put your 50 O's windshield up there and make sure everything fits right. Now we know that we took 3 inches out of our post here, both sides. So what we're going to do here, we have new windshields. What we're going to do here is we're going to take this windshield and lay it on top of our new windshield. And we're going to slide the top down 3 inches. And we're going to mark it off that way. That'll give us where we should cut on the new windshield. And if you'll notice over here on the side, we've got a little more space down here at the bottom than we do up here where right before it starts making the curve. Of course, you're going to have to cut your curve and all this, like, you know, when you slide your other windshield down, that'll show you the curve. But also, you're going to have to cut like from nothing to about 3/16 right up through here before you start into the curve. That's all in moving that post to get everything lined back up. But I'm lucky I've got a guy real close here that's been in the glass business for years and years, and he does good on windshields, or has so far. None of them will guarantee you that they won't break it. And there's one windshield that I don't think I've ever seen cut without breaking it, and that's about a 54, 55 Ford pickup truck. He broke 5 of those for a guy. Never got the first one to the truck. It broke while he was cutting it. Now we'll move on to something else here now. One got our deck lid and brought it back, and it just don't fit good at all. If you notice, when we brought this part down on the roof, we came straight down. So if you took that deck lid and you could lay it on down to where it would meet, it would be too long up here at the top. So what we're going to do with this deck lid is we're going to take it and lay it upside down on a table, and we're going to completely take this skin from the frame. Now you just take your little real keen chisel, something like a real narrow wood chisel, say about a 1/2 inch wide, and you get under there and you peel that skin back from where it's folded back under your frame. And of course, if there's any spot welds around there, you're going to have to drill those little spot welds out. But you want it turned in like a 90 degree where you can lift that skin off of your framework. Then we're going to set the framework back up there, and we're going to have to make that frame fit this hole. Now, just from what I'm seeing here now, you see this hump back here. A lot of that hump is going to have to go, because if we went from there back here like it is now, there would be like a dip right in there. It would come down and then have to go back out this way for the deck lid. We don't want that. So what we're going to do is take it back off here and take the skin off and set the frame back up there, and then we're going to have to slice the frame just like we did this. We'll have to go from about 2.5 inches like we did that and back this way. Now, I won't take 2.5 inches off right off the bat. I might take 2 inches off, and then we'll overlap this frame till we see where we're going to be here. And you've still got your latch here at the back, so you can still latch it down, and that'll give you an idea how far the frame itself is from the car around the edge, the gap, in other words, and you can make all this up in here be the same way. And of course, we're going to have to notch it in here to make it flow out instead of come up so steep. We're going to have to do that just like we did that trough around there. So we'll see if we can take this skin off and see what we got here. Now, we got our deck lid skin away from the frame here. I'll give you a few pointers here on my way of getting it off. I just took an old screwdriver. This one's got a shank that goes all the way through it, just an old cheap screwdriver. Sharpen the end of it like a real slender taper on it. You just kind of get it in under this lip right here while it's on here, and it's going to try to turn up this way when you start doing it. So you got to take it and keep it back flat against this, and just take your hammer and just keep pecking it across there. And you're going to run into some spot welds, and you can take you like 80 grit paper and go along the edge of it, and you can see those spot welds, and just center punch them and drill them I usually drill on like an 1/8 inch drill to get them started, just more or less a good mark. And then I take like a 1/4 inch drill that don't have a whole lot of taper to the point. In other words, just kind of not real point this way, but a point on it this way, and drill enough to get through this. Don't go all the way through your whole thing, just enough to break your spot well. And you're going to have to turn up the sides and the top. You're going to have to turn them straight up. But once you get them lifted up with this, you can take you a stiffer screwdriver, stick underneath that edge, and pick it up a little bit more as you go along. Then you can take you a pair of pliers and put the bottom out here on the edge and then pull it back this way and pull it straight up. Now this bottom edge, we didn't do that. We just lifted it up because hopefully we're not going to have to change this edge. So we just lifted it up to slide this out. So you got to pick it all the way out of there on the top and the two sides, and then you can slide it out from under here. Now this particular deck lid had a little angle piece along the top edge. It was in underneath the skin where it folded over. It come out from under it and then turned up about 3/8 of an inch. Now Chevrolet don't have that in 4950 or so. And this being a 48 Cadillac, I don't know if that's something that the Cadillacs had that the Chevrolets didn't, or just something that the 48s had and they discontinued it in 49. But as long as your seal's right, you just about got to destroy that thing to get it out, because it's spot welded first and then this skin's put on and spot welded second, so you can't see the spot weld in that thing. And don't do like I done now. I tried to get the skin off before I took the outside truck handle off. That don't work too good. And when we get it off, we're going to peel all this old tar paper stuff out of here. And then we'll take our framework. We're going to get rid of all this latch stuff because that won't be used later on anyway. It'll be a power latch on it. But anyway, we're going to slice this thing from down here through this part, and then we're going to slice it through this part. And we can go ahead and bolt our frame onto the car for right now. Now it's going to be too long, so we'll probably have to go through right here and shorten it a little bit to make it the right length this way. But you worry about that part right now. We're about putting your hinges back on and shortening it through here to make it the right length this way. And of course you're going to have to cut this off right here and then cut it down through here where it starts to kind of, flow up in your car. Just start from about right here and go up there. You can overlap that while you're fooling with it to see about how much you got to cut off. And then that way when you get it, you trim off so much and check it and trim off so much. That way we can, get a good fit on that. But notice when you bolt it back on, how much you've got between your frame and the truck opening. And that'll give you an idea of how much you need of a gap all the way around it without the skin being on it. We've got our deck lid frame sitting back in the hole here. I've noticed that this Cadillac deck lid is a little different from a Chevrolet. I know it's different as far as where the holes are and all this stuff in the frame, but this Cadillac has got this hump back here where the deck lid meets the back of the car. So there's a little bit difference here between this and the Chevrolet. I'm in the same boat you are is what it amounts to here, because this one's a little bit different, but hopefully when I make my cuts, we won't be in the wrong place here now. Remember we took 2.5 inches to 3 inches. Okay, I came in and get this up where it should be here on the bottom, and then in the same line there, mark off your cut, and I got it marked through to this hole here. And I moved up like 2 7/16 because we've got this crack here to contend with, and it is getting smaller as it comes down. So I moved up 2 7/16 and cut it just a little bit, in other words, back here is a little bit closer than it is out here on the edge. Just enough to get through that outside rim, and then I went to this hole. We'll take this little section out right here and just remove it. And then we're going to cut it along this tape down to here. Now, this part here won't change. If we do anything, if it comes out of here and turns up this way too much, we'll have to push it, notch it down in here and push it over. That's the way we did the car. But now when we get this out right here, we're going to lay this aside, and we're going to take this part in here and notch it on the bottom, just like we did on the car, and spread it out to where it fits the car. In doing so, when we relieve that, we can put this down right here and put our hinge bolts back in place. We'll do that on both sides. And we'll make this across here work as far as our gap goes. And of course the up and down part is going to be the same because the hinges hadn't moved. And you'll need the thickness of your skin between the body and the deck lid here to make it, make it flush this way when you get to that part. But we're going to cut these sides off, and then we can put we got to notch this in here, not tack it in place, just notch it where it'll come out. And then we're going to put our hinges on and set this down in there. Now when we do that, this deck lid is going to be too long from there to here. After we get that back on there, we're going to cut it across here and across here and overlap it till we get it where we want it. Then we can tack that back together. And I know too, I can see that already, that this belly that this thing's got in it coming down this way, the skin I'm talking about. When we lower this front down, this bottom here is going to kick out and stick out past the lower panel here. So we're going to have to get into that too, but let's get this part done first, then we can worry about that later on. We'll stop right here and show you what we got. The Chevrolet that I did before, where the trunk hinge comes out of that square box that goes down underneath the package tray, it had a long coiled up spring with a hook on each end, and you could reach in there and unhook that spring and take the tension off these hinges here. Well, this Cadillac has got a couple of rolled up hinges in there, like a spool. And I believe they were put in there before this box was ever welded to the bottom of the package tray. So I couldn't get those hinges out. Not say I couldn't get the springs out of them, but it'd be awful hard getting them back in there. So I just took my little block of wood and pushed those hinges down, and that's why I've got these little pieces of angle up here. That keeps this part of the deck lid where it should be. I just got them welded, tack welded up on the skin, and then coming out on this. And these little pieces you see underneath it is just a piece of 18 gauge that would take the place of the skin on the deck lid. Because if you don't put this in there, your skin could stick up past the line of the car. So I did that way. We notched in here just like we did on the top part, and pulled that out and welded it up to keep that same contour going off here. Done that on both sides. And you remember me telling you that the deck lid would come out too long. Well, I sliced it across here on each side. And then back up just a second. Before I did that, I cut this into here and cut it into right here. You can see better probably over here on this part. And then I cut this into across here and cut this into,
and slid that over itself and overlapped it about 1.25 inches, I guess, to make this bottom part come out the right length. Reason being, so you're laying this trunk lid down in the front, and this opening is, this part over here is more or less straight down. So you're going from a diagonal to more horizontal, and that makes it too long. And also by doing what we're doing here, sliding this up, that gets this trunk down too. I thought about taking it out down here, but that will only keep our hump further down this way and make it more of a belly here. We want to get that out of it, because we don't want to end up with a dip right here. We don't want this to come out and then go down. And I've got all this, welded up over here. Next, I'm going to tack this here on each side and get that right. And then two, if you'll notice up in here, you've got about 1/4 or 5/16 of an inch between this part and that trough where it comes up on the edge back here. You need to keep that same deal down at the bottom, so I put a little block underneath it here to hold it up right. Now don't get this too close down here at the bottom, because the body itself is not going 90 degrees from this corner, it's going more that way. So this could touch real easy when you shut your deck lid. So you'll have to wind up leaving you just a little bit more gap right in there than you think you really need. In fact, I may have that one just a little bit too close now. And then this part over here, you'll wind up with this side over here coming up this way, and this in here will be going down under. So you're going to have to pull this part up a little and push this part down a little bit to make it flow out right there. Same way back here. You're going to wind up pushing this down and pulling that up just a little bit to get these back together. But once you get it all tacked up, it should stay where you put it. And also these two side pieces here, they're just a little bit long too. So you can come across in where it's narrow here somewhere and pull that back. And don't do like I did when I come up here and cut my mount out here. I cut out about 3/16 of an inch too much. I'd have been better if I'd have left it off. I cut about 2 inches out of it and let it overlap till I found out where to cut it. So maybe you won't make that mistake. But I believe once we get all that done, it'll come out okay, and then we'll just have to make the skin fit it. But we'll stop along here and show you more as we go. But I do know on that, on the deck lid itself, you're going to have to slice it from here up through here. Let all that come over and meet itself. And then from that line, we may have to go up into here some on each side to let it flatten out a little bit, because we don't want that big belly in it like it had. And we have to make a couple of relief cuts, up through here to make it all flow together too. But once we get this part right here to fit in the hole, I believe we can take these braces off up here and hook our hinges back up and have enough strength there to raise it up and down. You just have to keep working with it. I know that this is not like a Chevrolet. This deck lid is all this. The holes and stuff in here is not the same. In fact, I believe the Chevrolet was easier to make up than what this one is. I believe on the Chevrolet I came from like here down right almost to the corner. And this over here said it didn't have this problem lining this up. And it's because the Chevrolet, this bottom panel down here is more or less the same all the way across. This panel kind of leans over here, and it gets more straight up, and then it leans over again, and we just got like a belly right in here in the panel itself. But that should give you an idea of what you're working with here. And then while you're doing all this, you need to get over to the side of the car and use this line as a sight to make sure you're not getting something high or low right here. I'm more or less learning as I go on this particular car. And I'm sure probably a Buick may be a little different from what the Cadillac would be. But I would say that a 98 O's 4849 would be pretty much the same. Even a Cadillac 484950 should be pretty much the same. Pontiac would be probably the same as a Chevrolet. We'll give you another shot here. I went ahead and fitted this piece in. And you see this little cut on the bottom side right here. That's to take this and push it over because it wanted to come up this way too quick. And then I just more or less put that where I wanted it down through here. Pulled this up and clamped it together in a lap over, and then scribed off what I didn't need, and then took that back away and took my scissors wheel and cut this off right here where it would just be a butt wheel to it. And of course this part right in here is a little bit long too. Not as much as this is, because this is pretty much staying just like it was right here. I think I took maybe a quarter, 5/16 out right through here just to scoop that up and make it even with the bottom one down here. And then I think I sliced out right in here, just I pushed this down to where it would stay down, so to speak, not all the way, but then I had to take this one and pull it up a little bit. In other words, just to make them meet up, clamp that up and scribe that off, took it back away and then trimmed that down where that would be buddied up. I lapped this over right here. I'd say it's probably lapped over 1.5 inches. Reason being, seemed like in bringing it down in line with this part right in here wanted to be down. And when I put this part up there, it was up a little bit. So I clamped the two of them together to get it to come in a flowing line and meet itself. Don't think that'll hurt anything, but there's not a whole lot of strength right through here anyway, in this middle part. And I didn't want to take a chance on that. I mean, you can go a couple thousandths there either way when you cut it and make a lot of difference. And like under this lip right here, to make this come up like it should with the skin, I think I used a thickness of a 3/8 nut. Just stuck it in there underneath this part and against the edge of that trough. Same way down here, I put like a thickness of a 5/16 nut right here to make that stand up, to make this a flush line. Just do whatever you have to do here to make everything come out like you want it. And then too, this framework, you'll notice this is a little wider gap right here. Well, up here is about right, and down here is about right. Of course, it's a little bit wide yet because we've got the thickness of the skin to go on it. But you can cheat a little bit on this. I think that's just more or less a factory curve right there where they cut it a little crooked. But when you put your skin on there, see, your skin is going to fold under there about 3/8 of an inch. So you can slip it back and forth to make your gap like you want it. So that's, I'd rather have this a little bit open right now and give me a little room to play with the outside skin. And of course, this bottom part down here, we didn't turn the skin all the way out. We just broke it loose enough to slide it out. We broke all this here out, turned it up to pull it up away from the skin, and we just slid it out of the bottom. So this bottom part shouldn't change at all. But up here, we're going to have to cut that skin off and then re-roll it around this. So, you need to leave I think I've got about 5/16 of a crack up here. If you wanted to go a little more than that, that would be fine too, because like I say, you've got to have a thickness of that skin. And then you need to make note of it when you take this away. Say this right here is a little bit further away from the car than this up here is. You need to take your little magic marker or something and put, say, +1/16 everywhere you're a little shy. If it's like back here, I'll put +1/8. And then when we take it off, we can transfer that measurement around on the other side, and when we fold our skin on there, we'll know where to put it, so to speak. We can put these two sides pieces of skin on with everything on the car, but this one up here, you're going to have to roll this around on the table over there. But hopefully I haven't lost anyone here. I just got most of this tacked in place for right now. I got all this welded, and just do this one at a time, because this stuff will, when it cools off, it's gonna pull, and you don't wanna get up too high out here. So like do this one, get that part in line, and then go over yonder and do that one, and then come back and do the next one. That way you keep it cool enough that you don't get it, when it all cools down, it'll be up too high. But I believe we've saved it. We're not through yet, but that's all remains to be seen. But you can see over here, see how this tucks down in there? Well, you got to more or less pull that up. Pull that up some, like so. And then this part of this outside, you've got to push it down and then clamp these two together and then get it to where it's a flowing line, so to speak. Same way right here. This right here is too low, see? So we'll have to pull that up to make it close to that other one, and that other one, and push it down just a little bit to butt the two of them together. In fact, I believe when we get through here, we may be able to keep the same latch in there. Not that it's going to stay in there, but if a fella wanted to keep that in there and just put him a solenoid with it to make it electric. But see, this car's got a latch on both sides. This is kind of like the back lift gate of a camper shell on a pickup truck. It's got a handle in here to turn, and it's got two arms that goes over here. It's got a latch on each side.
We've got our inner structure welded up here, and I took a aluminum yardstick there and clamped it down at the bottom in the center there, and up at the top in the center. Went ahead and took my little spacer box out right here on each side, and I can't say that it's really too high, but I'd rather it be about 1/4 of an inch lower if we can do that. It's not going from this line out, like so to speak, but it's more or less a flat place right in here. It's not still slightly tapering. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, you see where I got the pieces of tape right here? I'm going to take that and just make a saw cut and push that down. And you see this little yellow mark right here? Well, I've got another mark down in the floor there on each side. And when I make this slice, I'm going to see if I can push both of these down 1/4 of an inch. And I believe if we get it down 1/4 of an inch, it'll make it work a whole lot better. Because the skin, if we put the skin on there now, it's going to be pressing hard against this right here to get it right. And I'd rather have it where we could slide a little piece of something in between there, you know, just to make sure we're not in any bind here. But when you're fitting all this other stuff up right here, you got to remember now that between where that trough comes up and this here, there's like 1/4 of an inch space in there to get this right here up. I don't have my spacers in this side now, but when I was welding this up right here, I just slid me a little 5/16 nut up in there flat ways and just tacked it on with this part right here to make sure it stayed where I wanted it. This one over here I didn't have to fight as much as that one. And then two, when you tack this on the corner right here, you can move this up and down, and when you get it where you want it, you can weld from down in there up this way, and it'll stay. It won't do that anymore after you do that. You just have to kind of play with it and mess with it there to make sure that everything comes out right. And another thing here, you know, when we cut this in two, this hole came around and went straight back. Well, I just went ahead and finished that hole out the way it was to start with, and hopefully whoever finishes out this car will do some finish work on the inside of the deck lid. And the idea is to keep them wondering, you know. Guy, he'll come up and he'll say, could I see the inside of the deck lid? Well, you raise it up and there's nothing he can see. It looks just like it was made that way. Before we cut this in two right here, we want to put our little spacer blocks back under here on each side and clamp that back, because we don't want this here to move. We only want it to move in this area. So we'll try that right there and see what happens with it. We went ahead and made our little slice here and here. Took out about 1/8 of an inch, I'd say. And it pushed it down not hardly a quarter, but I just tacked it and then measured to see, and then put my little straight edge back. I don't know if you can see it on the camera or not, but see a little bright line going right down. And it looks good to me. I just hope you can see it. So what we're going to do here, we're going to go ahead, and while I got it up here where we can hold it, all of these welds, it's going to be where the skin of the deck lid is going to be touching. We're going to smooth all those down, like here, this one, and down to the bottom. Smooth all those down while we got something there to hold it. And on this particular one, right in the center, seems like it wants to suck in a little bit, so we may have to slice it right underneath that clamp and let it relieve itself out this way and then weld it back up. I'll just have to check it again when I get my clamp off of there. But I'm satisfied with it like it looks right now, and we'll get all that slicked off and take it off the car now, and then we'll see. Might even go ahead and just bolt it to the hinges here to see how the hinges are going to fit the bottom side of it. Of course, we know it'll shim on top or bottom bolt on that hinge and make a lot of difference in the way it sets in there. And when we're satisfied with the way it looks there, we'll just get our skin out and start cutting on it. We've got this framework ground down where the skin is going to be touching it. And everything seems to have stayed pretty much where we hoped it would. I did learn one thing here. I think before, when this deck lid's shut, when it just almost latched, the hinges went over center, and that made it relax itself. Well, by going down, the hinges are not over center. When you unlatch the thing now, you got to get out of the way if you ain't got a hold to it, because it's going to come up. It's got a lot more pressure on the springs than it did have. But we did get our old latch back on. Put it back in the same marks with the screws as it was before. Had to adjust this latch over here on the car itself just a little bit to pull it down just a little bit. But other than that, it worked good. And I went ahead up here, measured to see how much I'd have to add beyond the framework to make our gap right. And about every 3 inches or so along there. This from about right here on over to here is the same all the way across. But it was a little different from side to side off in here. Now I'll take that measurement when I take it off and mark it on the other side where I can see it when I start cutting the upper part up here where I can roll it. Get it back on there right.
But make sure you grind all your welds in these places right here where the dick lid is going to come close to it, because you don't want that to hold you up. And I got the skin laid it up there. Of course, it fits just like it did to start with. And I just remember me telling you on the framework when I cut this out right in here, I cut just a little bit too much out. I think I cut it 2 3/8 or whatever, but on this right here I just took out 2 right here and just started taper. And then it comes together more or less a saw cut from here on down. Hopefully I haven't taken out enough anywhere, and we can have just a little bit of a lap over to work with when we get our lap over, hold itself, so to speak. When we get our lap over marked off everything, we can pull it and cut it. But and I'm sure too that we're going to have to relieve this thing like in here and in here a couple of times, because this is wanting to kick up too much and that's wanting to roll off too much. Maybe, a couple of times in here we're going to have to relieve it where it can come on out this way some. And of course this right here is wanting to kick up too quick like it did, but we can notch our edge out here and push it over some. But I think the best thing to do here would be to go ahead and cut it and take these 2 pieces out here and put them back where we want them, onto the frame. Maybe just, tack them a place or 2 under there, not completely roll it off to where we can't get it back off, because we can raise the deck lid up and just, slide this back off if we don't roll it too tight. And then we can take this piece up there second, lay it on there, and this edge where it's turned down up here, we're going to just flatten that straight out. Even so, right along in here where it starts making the bend, we're going to flatten it straight out. So we'll go ahead and take our slice out of there and take our 2 sides and see what we can do with them. Thought I'd better stop right here and go over a few things. We have already gotten our 2 side pieces on. I still haven't taken the deck lid off the car yet. You can just slip this under the side and get your gap right. And about right in the beginning of this curve right here, it starts getting a little big as you come up. So you just have to slice it about every 5/8 of an inch is what I did on your raw edge there, and then take you a little dolly and a hammer, and you can break it a little further back than what it was on each section of that as you come around. Just know how much you have to shorten it each time to come around there, and then just get your gap right coming down the side and across the bottom here. And if it tends to be tighter here than it is over here, just push up on it. That'll raise this up in here a little bit, but that's the way it was to start with. In other words, the curve in this piece here, right in here, it may relax a little bit when you cut it in 2 and tend to flatten down, and that'll make it off cue around the bottom down here, but you get that part right. And I just went ahead and tacked it right on the corner, down here to keep it right. And all this under here, I just more or less, in places folded it all the way down. It's not completely down. I'll do all that after I get it off the car, because that's just a matter of hammering it down and putting a few tacks on it where you drilled out your spot welds before. And you can see too where I've made a few relief cuts here where the shiny part is. That's just the width of a little ziz wheel. But I'm beginning to think if I'd come back and cut it where the yellow marks are and put 5 in it instead of 3, it would work better. In fact, I'm going to have to go back between these and cut it, which may be a few too many. But if you can just push it down
these little gaps where your saw cut was, just push it down and those little gaps will come together. And you might just want to put you one tack on each one of them. And you'll just have to get up here and look from this angle down to see that it's not humped up or it don't suck in. You'll just have to sight down through this to make sure you're getting it sloped over the right way. And then, of course, this part kicking up right here, you'll have to keep it somewhat like this, and it'll just flatten on out as it goes back. It's just a matter of sighting it as you go. And of course, on the centerpiece, we hammered out that fold over because it's plenty big up here to completely, cut off and fold again when we get to that point. And I cut awful close on the amount I took out right here. In fact, I don't think it's going to be a gap, but on back in here, I'm kind of getting concerned. I might have taken out a little too much once I get everything situated. And just inside this trunk, well, let me give you another shot over this way first. You can see when you squat down, coming from the roof line down across the rear window to the deck lid opening and on down to the back of the trunk back here. It's a little bit high right here and a little bit low right there. I don't know if you can see it on the camera or not, but it's just a little bit off right there. And you remember on the framework, we cut it in each side right here and pushed that down just a little bit. Well, just inside this hole, there's a little bracket comes up there and flares out to when you put your trunk latch on, it's got a support behind it where you can't push it in. Well, right now, that little bracket is about 3/8 of an inch from touching our skin. And that's why I've got these two pieces of tape coming across. And make sure you keep them the same distance up from each side and the same distance up here. And I got 8 inches between them, 4 being in the center. 4 each way from the center. I'm going to slice that up through there and see if we can't relax that down to where this will touch the skin. And by doing so, that will lower this enough that I believe our flow coming from the roof will come on down right. And I believe here, the last car I did, I took out 2 inches here and 3 inches here. And in doing so, you're going from nothing gradually more as you go up. And I'm beginning to believe here that if I had done this one that way, we wouldn't have as much trouble back here in this centerpiece of this deck lid. I might be wrong now. I'm just, it's been so long since I did the other one, I'm not sure. But the way it all came out when we got through, we lowered it 3 inches here, and it come out to 3 inches here after we pulled everything out and set it down and got it to fit. And by, it stands to reason by starting at nothing back here, it would gradually get wider as it comes up. So I believe we might have done better if we'd have just took out 2 right here, which would have come out to 2.5 once we pulled everything out and it settled down. But I do know that the more you cut it, the more you're going to have in here to deal with. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to make some more relief cuts in here. And in case I got the other side cut the same way I do this side. You need to cut both sides the same, that way you'll know what to work with on each side. But I'll probably wind up going back in between those and making another cut. And that'll come out like 6 of them, but I believe I could have got by with 5 if I'd have figured it out right to start with. But we'll just do a little more and show you a little more. We better stop here and catch you up some. I went ahead and made my other relief cuts here on both pieces, and slicing it up through here, to get that down, you know, remember me telling you about that little thing underneath where the trunk handle goes? Well, I just took my little butterfly nut, toggle bolt, whatever you want to call it, down through there and pull that down so it would be flush, and that's what sucked the deck lid down, and that's why this opened up out through here. And what you'll have to do on your outside pieces, I think I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, about 6 relief cuts down through there, about going down in till we got out of this curve. And you'll just have to get up here like so and look down through there and keep this flow going down through here on down as far as see it's gradually got a curve to it as it goes. I'm talking about that way. You just kind of keep that in flow there as you go. And good thing right here, if you got you just a little piece of metal about 1 inch wide, if you'll set it down against that and push it where you want it and hold it, you can make this flush as you do that, and then tack it and get like every other one and come back and get the ones in the middle. Do that. On both sides, then you can take your center piece of metal and lay it on there. In other words, you'll have to hook it in on the bottom of the frame down here and get it in line with everything else. And I went ahead and cut 2 more relief cuts too, because it was trying to come off too quick. And then by having it to flow out that way more, we had to slice it so we could pick it up, because it's curving that way. You can't pick it up unless you put some relief cuts in it. And when you're tacking, I went ahead and tacked it together here too, up about halfway here. When you're tacking these, say this side a little bit higher than this side, you can stick your 6-inch scale down in there and push it one way or the other, and you can pick that up smooth and then tack it while you're holding it there. And also when you're doing this down through here, now wait a minute, this is overlapped. This is overlapped from about this point on down. I just almost cut too much out because this is butted. Right down through here is butted on both sides. Then I started my overlapping here. So I just almost cut too much out. In fact, even on up here at the top, I bet I don't have to trim any off. If I do, it'll be 1/16 of an inch. But in two, when you're tacking these two together, these slices here, I hadn't tacked these slices here yet because I wanted to get everything pushed down to watch the flow. But make sure you keep them in line. Don't get one higher than the other, because you're going to run into problems when you try to finish it out. You're going to have a high place and a low place. Now the reason I didn't go any further up than I did toward the top, as you can see, we've still got this deck lid skin lapped over on the body itself. Well, we've got the thickness of that metal up too high. So if we welded it on up, when we got through, the deck lid would be higher than the body. So what we're going to do at this point is we're going to take the deck lid off the car and make that skin go down against our framework. And remember me telling you about those little measurements we made across there? Transfer them to the bottom side. Then you can know how far past your framework to start rolling your metal back over under there. But we'll get it back off the car, we'll trim that off and roll that under, and then we can go ahead and do this, because that's going to let it come down just a little bit when we get it off that car and make that skin fit that framework. But you've got to just keep looking at it and make sure it looks the same on each side. In other words, this one here opened up about, say, 5/16. That one over there opened up 5/16. You keep everything where you can watch it and get the same results side to side. And then too, so you can stand up here and look down this line and make sure it's a flowing line there. You don't want to have a hump in it or a dip in it. The straighter you get this, the less filler you're going to have to use. And then, of course, our overlap down through here, we're going to use a ziz wheel, cut out about 3 inches and butt it, and cut out about 3 inches and butt it, just like we did going across the top up there. We don't want a little line in our paint, so to speak, going down through there showing an overlap. Now, this is my, let me see here just a second now. This is my 3rd day on this deck lid, the better part of 3 days. So, you know, if I get it done today, which I've got about another 5 hours, if I can get this done today, 3 days, I don't feel like I've done too bad. I'd rather spend 3 days and get it right than spend 2 and end up having to put a lot of filler in it. Or somebody had to put a lot of filler in it. But you just have to keep lining it up by sight and all this kind of stuff, and you know, always too, you got to check your flow going from that part down into this part. Don't have it pushed in or coming up to a peak in where your weld is going to be, and pushing it in and out, you know, and watching it and tacking it'll get all that right for you. So we'll just have to do a little more and show you a little more. I'll probably go so far as to roll this edge back and get it right, and then I can put it back on the car and make these tacks right in here.
I thought I'd give you a pointer or two right here on this skin as far as bending it around the framework here. I just took me an old wide impact chisel, welded me a piece of 1 inch square solid bar on it, make it a little heavier, and just take that point of that chisel right there and press down right on your mark you got scribed off there where you're going to break it over, and hit the outside edge of your skin, just moving back and forth, don't go too much at one time. Bend it up to 90 degrees. You know, now here where it starts around this curve, I've got some little relief cuts about every 1 3/4 I guess, because this stuff, when you turn it up this way, it's going to take up more room, so you're going to have to slice it, and them little slices will overlap themselves when it sticks straight up. But when you hammer it on back down, that'll take care of itself there. You won't have to worry about it. But when you get up to this point, and you want to go all the way over with it, just put your dolly right on the bottom and start hitting this edge and carry it right on over. And always keep pressure on your dolly up on the bottom, and just work it, keep working it back and forth. Don't put it all the way down as you go. Just make it like 4 or 5 times working it over, and that way you won't stretch this edge where it'll have a pucker on it after you get through. Another thing, after we get that broke up straight up, we'll take us about a 3/16 drill and drill us a little hole through that little edge sticking up about every 5 or 6 inches, and get our little burr off the back side of it. And then when we hammer it all the way down against it, we can put a little spot weld in each one of those holes to make it look like it was to start with. Well, we've got our deck lid, all the overlaps ground down, everything buddied up.
got that top edge rolled down. Hammered flat all the way around. Got us a gap there anywhere from 3/16 to a quarter. Good as it was from the factory anyway. And you can see here I put these spot welds about 1.5 inches apart, and just at random and skipping around come back every now and then and tied those together, making it like 3/4 inch apart, inch at the most. I still got that little toggle bolt in the trunk latch hole there to keep everything down as far as possible. You can see where I put this little deal right in here. That kind of sucked in toward where I cut it when I mashed it out there. And I thought, well, I'll just relieve it going this way so it'll pick it up, but it didn't do any good. The main reason you can't get in behind it here to pick it up is you do this, so I'll best leave well enough alone. And I know you're going to wonder, well, how we're going to weld this up without it warping, since we got that frame underneath it and can't get to it. Well, the way we're going to weld it up is just like it's welded right now. We're going to start up here at one end. Between those tacks, we're going to tack it. I mean just one tack. I don't mean weld 1/4 inch with 3 or 4 tacks. You skip down about 3 or 4 inches, tack it again. Skip down 3 or 4 inches, tack it again. You go over everything, just come all the way down that seam. And then when you get to the end, you can go back up here. You can get you a couple of tacks in this right here. Get you a tack in that one, a tack in that one, a tack in that one, a couple of tacks in that one. You do that, go over to the other side. Do the same thing again. When you get all that done, this will be cooled back off. You can come back in between those 3-inch tacks that you made, put one halfway between each one of them. Get everything down. Like some of them now, 3/4 inch to 1 inch apart, get them down to 3/8 to 1/2 inch apart. Just keep on doing the whole thing that way. Don't ever get it to where you can't lay your hand on it. And it'll stay that way. But I'm pleased with our gap all the way around. And I'm pleased with the flow with everything going into the deck lid. I'll try to give you the best shot I can here. Now that bar in that back window is what goes in there to make the back window look like a 3-piece back window. That's put in there from the factory. I've just got that clamp on there to keep the deck lid closed. By putting all the skin on it, the springs are not near as strong as they were. In other words, you have to help it just a very little to get it to raise up now. So that was all just in more weight to put on it. So we'll go ahead and, like I say, weld all this up just by tacking it. Don't get your tacks any closer than 3 inches. And go all the way through, and then go to the other side and go all the way through. Now when you get it down like your tacks are 1/2 to 3/8 of an inch apart, you can do like I showed you up on the top. Put the end of your wire right against the side of one tack and just overlap that tack. Move over about 3 inches and do the same thing. And then once I get me a sequence going here, I complete the whole thing like that, like get one every an inch and a half apart, then I'll take my wire brush and clean everything off. Then you can start you another sequence, and when you get through with it, you can take your wire brush and clean everything off. That way you know where you're going here. We got our deck lid all welded up solid and everything ground down. Put us a little paint on it there to keep it from rusting. You can probably see in the camera that this slice right here, it's sucked in about, I guess maybe 1/8 of an inch. It was so wide and welding it up and no way to get to the back side of it. I just had to pretty much let it do what it wanted to, but like I said, you just spot weld this about every 3 inches. Go over the whole thing, then come back and put you one between those 3 inches and just keep doing it that way. Sit down here now and hopefully you can get you a side shot of it there. Top flowing back into the deck lid. But I will say again here, remember we took out 3 inches here and 2.5 here. Then when we pulled all that out to make it meet, that dropped that another half, made it 3 inches here, 3 inches here. We should have taken only 2 inches out here and let that be higher up. I mean, I got my old pictures out and got to looking at the last one, and that's the way I did it. And it only stands to reason you're starting from nothing here and going to 3 inches here. So that should have come down 2.5, but by spreading that top part out to make it meet, only take 2 out right here and 3 here, and when you get through, that'll come down 2.5 by spreading that top part out to meet the bottom. So I didn't make a perfect video after all, is what it amounted to. But hopefully I made the mistake instead of you. Now we've got all the top part done here, and next in line we're going to work on a little stainless around the windows, and that'll vary from car to car too, depending on what model you have. Chevrolet probably being the easiest one because it just goes kind of up but on the door itself, right under the drip rail, and this one tucks in all the way to the glass on the top. And this one rolls over and tucks into the glass on the bottom, where Chevrolet just got the piece coming from the windshield all the way back to almost the deck lid. But we'll carry you through on this one too, and you can follow up on all this stuff. We're going to move on here to the stainless on the side windows if you decide to go back with that. I've already done this side. It's not really that complicated on these cars. Just whatever amount you took out of here on this piece coming down the top and making the turn there, you just get the same amount out of here. But now this is like a vertical cut. In other words, this wasn't straight down. It was like this. So you get straight up and down 3 inches out of it if that's how much you cut your car. And then by slanting the post up in here, you've got to back up just a little bit, mainly because this moved forward a little bit when we come down and met the windshield. That shortened this piece here. I think I came on back in here where it wraps around and goes down. I backed up about 1/4 of an inch and made it look the same way, just shorter back this way. You can always trim off a little more if you hadn't got it enough, but if you get too much, you've overdone it. And then too, by slanting the post, your trim where it comes up at the door gap, you've got to cut that angle. It was like a 90-degree angle on the end of it, and we cut back this way and took our little Ziz wheel and and cut that at an angle. You had to shorten this piece a little bit up here too, from that moving forward up where it goes around on the edge. But on a Chevrolet, you know, it goes on the outside of the car. It don't go right in the window opening itself. I'm not sure about a Buick or an O's. Pontiac would probably be the same as a Chevrolet. But you get the general idea of what you have to do with it. None of this in here changes. This piece on the bottom, I didn't do anything, did just put it back on. This one up here, just had to slant the end of it, and then of course I had to take off 3 inches. Now this is 3 inches out of the piece itself because we took 3 inches out of the windshield post. That wasn't a vertical cut, that was just the post itself. And when you cut it, you got to cut it back like it looked to start with. Except that went that way, okay. You have to make that end look like the end it did to begin with. And then on the windshield trim, you just take it off the bottom too. I just, you know, I just took off 3 inches of the trim itself in the same angle it was. This end goes underneath the part that goes across the bottom of the windshield, and that part you won't have to do anything to. The divider bar, you'll have to shorten that one. We'll get into that here in just a little bit. But that gives you a general idea on the stainless. To me, putting that on really added to it. Made the smaller window outlines stand out more. So we'll go ahead and do the rest of the stainless for the other side, and we'll get back with you on the let's stop right here on this divider bar that goes down the center of the windshield. You'll have to cut it just like you do everything else. Now this piece right here slides up inside of the outside cover. That's what holds it down. They vary from car to car. But this one's got a little screw hole on each end of it, so I had to take 3 inches out of the center of it somewhere. You just have to make sure you keep this straight because it has to slide back up inside this outside bar. And then on the outside bar, I just took 3 inches off of one end of it. It's got a little curl going across the end of it here, but I believe just a good clean lap over, which that's what this is. It's just got that little bead on the end of it. But I believe a good smooth lap over looks even better than that hump in the end of it there. And then this part here goes on the inside. Your rear view mirror screws in through this hole here. So you have to take it out of the center of this piece because you got to keep your screw holes lined up that attaches the outside and inside together there. Like I say, it'll vary from car to car, but you get the idea anyway. If you got a hump like this on each end and you can't reform that, well then you're going to have to take it out of the middle. But now, and then too, see this piece here is chrome plated, and they can only chrome it as nice as you finish it. And then of course stainless can be TIG welded, but he can only weld it up as nice as you fit it up. You don't want one end higher than the other and have to have a hump in there. And then I forgot to mention something on this windshield trim here. Remember we leaned this post in and kicked this part out. Well, no more than we did that, this chrome will flex that much. I mean this trim. I didn't do anything as far as being in this corner out or anything up here. It went back in there just like it's supposed to. Because it's kind of, if you'll notice when you take it out, it's not a perfect fit once you get it unclipped, you know, but it'll give enough that you can get that in there. Another thing, I'll go ahead and mention this too now while I'm thinking about it. I call it pot metal. It's really like it's an aluminum that's chromed, you know, like your little pivot points up here in your vent windows, or even on a hard top or something like that. Sometimes your vent window frame will be pot metal, chrome plated. Now you can cut that and you can TIG weld that. I hadn't run into any yet you couldn't TIG weld. But now I have had people to call me back and say the chrome shop couldn't chrome it. Well, what they're doing is they're trying to cheat you out of one process. You have to copper plate it, nickel plate it, and chrome plate it in that order. And what they're doing is they're trying to eliminate the copper, and the nickel won't stick to the aluminum. So you might want to remember that too. Our back window, of course, we didn't change anything there, so you know the trim and everything goes back just like it came out. The back window glass and all. We hadn't changed anything at all about that one. And we'll move on here next to the moldings that go around the door window and the quarter window and the windshield molding from the inside. We'll go over one of these interior moldings with you here. This is the quarter window molding. This particular car, the bottom part is separate from the top part. And more than likely the one you do will be all in one piece. But you remember when we went forward with the windshield post and come down with it, we moved the roof forward. And you move this part up here all forward, and this bottom part of your inside molding you'll have to shorten because this back moved forward on you. But you need to shorten it where your screw holes will stay the same. And then, of course, you're going to have to notch this corner up here and bring it back. And this bottom corner, you're going to have to notch it and spread it apart. What I usually do on them is the bottom part, I'll cut it in two up here somewhere between my screw holes, and I'll take the bottom part, fit it to the car. In other words, I'll make it the right length, make my screw holes line up and all that stuff. And then I'll come up right from the bottom here when I cut it off, and then when I go up through here and cut it off, I'll take that whole bottom section, make it fit, and where it comes up to in the window opening, I just put me a little mark on the car. Then I lay it aside, I take my top piece, and I pull this back and get the corner right. Then I'll make it the right length by that mark, cut it off, and then I'll weld the two pieces together. And then just tack them together first, and then go back in and see how it fits. And of course on your door window frames, you're going to have to do them the same way in this post area right here. You're going to have to shorten those in the length, they'll still be the same. But if you can do the rest of the car, I know you can do the molding. We've got our inside window moldings cut down. On the windshield part, you just take out the same amount out of here that you took out of your windshield post itself. Take it in a place that you can keep your screw holes going back in the car the way they were to start with. The inside moldings on this car are all chrome plated, so I took a lot of time to really fit them back and grind and file them down to where they could be chrome plated again without any wells showing. And we're going to move on now to the front vent windows. And you remember me telling you back in the beginning, you lay a square along this edge and come up with that divider bar. It was out of square just a little bit. I think this one was out 1/8 of an inch leaning forward at 8 inches up. So you need to lay your square, you need to put your bar back in other words, where it goes down here. Put your screw in it so it don't move, and then lay your square along this edge and come up beside of it, make it lay forward just like it did before, make you a mark up here where the back edge of it would be. And then you've got to shorten it down to where to fit back in there like it did. And this particular one is like a zinc coated, and the chrome trim slid down over it, inside and outside. And it's got a little bracket up here that attaches to the back of your vent window frame up here that they screw together right here. Now, you can do this two ways. If yours has a stainless steel bar all the way up, you'll have to shorten the top of it and make it look like it did to start with. And you won't have all these little pieces to slide down over it. But as far as I know, all the GMs, the stainless slid down over, not stainless, that's even chrome plated too. Even the frame around the vent window itself is chrome plated. But what I do to make that bar the right length, I measure from where it sits right here up to where it has to go to after I get my mark up there. And then I just measure from the bottom of this little bracket where it sits down on the door to the top and subtract how much is too big, take that part out of it. And these things, you know, they vary a little bit from car to car, so I didn't take but about 1 3/4 inches out of this one, but I try to get a better fit than what they got. It'll go in there, but it's no slack in it when you get it in there, in other words. And this little bolt that goes in down here that adjusts it in and out at the bottom, you know, the slant of it out toward the outside of the door and in toward the inside of the door, it's going to be too short. So I just cut it off right at the top of the threads, got me a bolt the same size, and I'm going to weld these two together. Now you're going to have to shorten them to a point. So when you go together, you got a V to weld up all the way around. And that'll take care of that. And you'll have to separate your vent window from the frame itself here. And notice how far the glass frame itself is from this outside frame. All of them I run into is between 1/4 and 5/16 of an inch. So when you make your glass frame fit this frame, you've got to leave you between 1/4 and 5/16 all the way back around for your weather seal to go, your rubber seal to go in there. And also, you see where this pivot up at the top is in line with this one at the bottom. You've got to keep that way. If you move this back here, your vent window is going to turn in maybe 2 inches and it's going to stop because it's going to get in a big bind. And of course it depends on how much you cut out of your car and all that stuff as to how much trouble you have with this. This right up here is pot metal, so you cannot do anything with it. If it were stainless, you could tweak it and bend it a little bit to get it, or you can even move it, you know. But you still have to keep it in line with this one for it to vent in and out, you know, turn all the way in and out and not get in any bind anywhere. And what we're going to do with this one is, that's where that bracket went. About 3/4 of an inch below that little gap there where it went, I'm going to take my hacksaw and cut it in two on this bottom side, and I'm going to start coming back this way with it. I'll go on up here and keep doing that and make it come back to follow the door height, in other words. And of course this is going to be too long when you do that. So when you get it to fit in there, this excess hanging over, you're going to have to cut it off and put your little tab back on there to screw it together. And then once we get that in there like we want it, make sure it fits right, we can take this right here, do the same thing with it. But this, to me, this right here either makes a custom really look good or it don't. Now, you know, a lot of people don't like the vent window being in there. That's your preference. But on these older cars, you see where this stainless goes up and the door wheel aren't the same. It's got a curve right there because that vent window is at a different angle from the door window. You've got that to contend with if you put a one-piece glass in there. You've got to get that out of it or you're going to have a gap at the front which will show up. But what I like to do and what I like to see is this car, when you get through with it, it looks like it came from a factory that way. You don't see any bad fitting and boo-hoo cuts in here. In other words, if a young person walked up and didn't know what a 48 Cadillac looked like to begin with, he wouldn't know any difference what it came that way. So we'll stop along here another time or two and give you a few more pointers. We got our vent window frame finished here. On this outside piece, I just cut through the side pieces with a hacksaw, pulled it down, and right up here I did the same thing. And then right back through here, you can kind of stick it up through the vise and peck on this and pull it on around where you want it. And of course, this outside piece is going to be too long. So I think I cut about 3/4 of an inch out right in here and left that bracket attached. Easier to do that than it was take it off and cut it off the end, put it back on there. And see if I can remember where I was here now. I believe I covered the outside part. Now the stainless part that the glass goes in, I cut through the sides of it just below this pivot point and just above the pivot point, and then 1-2 more times above that, and just kept pulling it back. Now you've got to watch when you do this. The reason that I didn't heat this, now you can heat it and pull it back if you know what you're doing. I do that on the stainless ones. But when you look down this frame, like the glass is going to go in it, it has to be straight, because that glass is not going to give one little bit if it's crooked. It's going to break it. So you have to make sure you keep that straight. And that's, on this one, I just notched it just to make it fall on back here. And then of course I had to cut about 3/4 of an inch off back here to get the length off back here. Now this pivot hinge, all this stuff in here is pot metal. So that's one reason you don't want to heat this. You get that stuff hot, it won't let you know when it's about to go. It'll just hit the floor just like melted lead will. So that'll get that part done for you, and we'll just go ahead and put this part back in the car. It may vary a little bit from car to car, but what you're doing basically is just making it fit the hole. And remember to keep like 1/4 of an inch between your stainless, your chrome frame and your outside frame here, for your rubber seal has to go back in there. When you notch this, now when I'm talking about notching it, I just took the hacksaw with like a 32 tooth blade and just sawed through the sides and just pulled it together. It's not that much of a pull, but if you do see a little bit of like a corner, every time you break it, if you see a corner, you just take your sander, orbital sander I'm talking about, and you just work this edge, the back edge here, the two sides where the glass would go. You just pass that along there, because really what you got is a straight, a corner, a straight, and a corner. You just blend all that in. Nobody will ever see it. Of course, you got to get all your welds good and smooth, so when the chrome shop gets hold of it, they can re-chrome it. Or if it's stainless, they can polish it out without anything showing. We've got our vent windows frames all done and put in, and the front door window moldings on the inside put in. If this were my car, I would prefer them being in there. It just makes the window opening itself look better. I'm talking about the door window opening itself look better. It cuts down on the length of it from front to back and don't make the quarter window look so short compared to the door window if you have that in there to break it up.
So that pretty much wraps it up on the metalwork in chopping this top. I knew I'd forget this. I always try to turn that noise off before I get to talking, that way it don't drown out my voice. Now this video, like I said, is for late 40s, early 50s GM cars. Even the 48 Cadillac like this and the 48 98Os is like the 49 through 52 Chevrolets and Pontiacs. Being a little difference in the Buicks in this area right here, they tend to round all the way back, where this one had a square corner at the bottom. But it's the same guidelines on whatever you decide to do. Even they call them Fleetline Chevrolets, and I'm sure Pontiac, and the Buick went to this more sleeker design, I think, in 42. But anyway, the 46, 7, 8s along in there, Pontiacs, Chevrolets, all those, they didn't come down and turn out here. But it's still a fastback body style. So you would still use the same general technique in chopping any of those. In other words, you would start at the back of the deck lid and take out more as you got to the quarter window. And you would, like on a 47, 48 Chevrolet Fleetline, this post is curved to start with. And you would do it the same way that you was going to do one of these if you were going to leave the post straight up and down. You would cut up through the drip rail here about 5 or 6 inches and go back to where you cut your back window out. Move this whole section back and line this post back up. But like I said before, you need to support your top ahead of your cut to make sure this don't droop down in. And keep that a flowing line when you set it all back in there. Make your piece where you scoot it back. Use your drip rail out of the windshield and put back in here. I hope that I've made everything simple enough for you. I know there's some people that maybe does a lot of this for a living and just bought this tape more or less as a guideline, and they say it's too boring, you go too far into detail and all that. But you can just fast forward through that if you're in that situation. But if a guy has never chopped one of these tops